Okay, I got the red smoke.
Gun runs north and south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke.
Okay, copy. West of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now.
Come on with it, baby. Give it to me. I need it. You're cleared hot.
Copy, cleared hot.
Everything is synced up and ready to go.
Do you use pluralize when you do your video?
What do we use?
To sync to do the multi-camera back and forth. So I had one camera for a long time. I don't know how far along you are in your podcast setup, but I had one camera for a long time, which is easy because you can just sync it up.
Right.
Pluralize is this killer software, so I can take all three cameras, dump them in, take the raw wave file. It'll correct audio drift, which is a bitch. I don't know if you're experiencing that.
I am familiar with that. Yeah.
Does it for you, links them all up. I use Final Cut Pro, but it'll work for Adobe as well.
Yeah, so we use Premiere for everything.
You can dump it in there, and everything is synced. And I hardwire the audio to stay, and then I switch back and forth on the camera angles.
So do you still have to pick back and forth on the cameras?
I do, and that's the difference between not having a producer.
Gotcha. Well, I know that, like, since I've had to do a couple of these remote, I've only done, I think I'm a 130 or so episode, 130, 140 episodes in.
We're right at the same spot there.
And just started doing video for it. Since I've mostly just done them by myself, like the idea of fucking setting up a camera, it's just more shit to deal with. I was like, well, just doing audio, this would be great. And then now that I've got a media guy who's traveling with me, typically he'll do the audio and then the video part of it as well. And the nice thing about doing it remote and using Zoom is it'll automatically switch to who's talking.
Okay. Does that ever mess up, though, where it's staring at you and the other person's talking?
I'm sure it's not 100% great, but I don't rewatch hardly any of my shit as much as I can avoid it.
I am not a fan of the sound of my own voice.
No, of course not. No one is.
Yeah. So you're the first actual guest in the studio.
Dude, this is killer.
It is, but here's the thing. People are going to bitch. So
why wouldn't they?
And here's that. It's early, so it's not completely done yet. Like, I need to steam the drapes. I'm going to steam the drapes. I
would prefer take any criticism on the podcast. Please have them send them their studio.
Or to find one and then go through the effort. And then there's going to be some other stuff. Like, this is literally the first day where everything has been ready to go. I couldn't get this audio shit to work until yesterday morning.
Of course. The best is like, this worked 20 minutes ago.
Oh my God.
Why is there a phantom in this?
It was all in the software. Because, these mics, these XLR mics, they go in and you can't plug them into the back. So I had to have that interface. There was one box. I took it completely apart. I went and got the other podcast board that I used. I hooked it up and was about to throw the computer through the fucking window.
Dude, my frustration with electronics and computers is, so I cut my teeth like, I guess fresh out of college, I opened a bicycle shop. So I like bicycle stuff. Like, it's simple mechanics, right? If something's not fucking working, I can be like, that's not lining up. Let's address it. If my computer goes to shit, I may as well set it on fire.
I was going to say, when computers go bad for me, I just clean them with a garbage can.
Yeah, put bullet holes in them and throw them in the garbage.
After cleaning the hard drive off and making sure that, actually, I haven't always done that. I've
just microwave it.
Yeah. Well, that destroys your microwave and your computer.
Get a cheap microwave.
Yeah. How awesome is Montana?
Man, this is now my 4th trip here. And of course, it starts like me and my chick are just talking, and like, we're not bound really to live anywhere. It's like, well, Montana's pretty cool. It's like, we could look at that. And then it's, trying to figure out what we like. I don't need 20 acres of fucking land. I'm pretty
20
simple.
acres is actually some work.
Yes, well,
it's amazing, but you're going to put the time
deal with it.
Yeah.
Like, at least Robin Them's is just woods. And so I'm not a big house guy. I mean, it's just me and my chick. We're not having kids. It's under 2,000 square feet is just perfect for me.
For a house size?
Perfect.
That's actually phenomenal.
I would rather go 3 bedrooms, so I have an office, a guest room, basement, and then I'd rather have a 7,000 square foot metal building to have a gym.
I was going to say heavy things.
Garage. Yeah, heavy stuff. Not as heavy as they used to be in the past now that I'm happily retired.
We should probably address the vehicle that you pulled up to the parking spot in, because I
think I chose poorly when I left Rob's house.
Well, so I don't know exactly where they live, but I think it's Whitefish, right? Okay, so You showed up in essentially a side-by-side.
Yeah, a Can-Am.
A Can-Am, which I am not a cop, so I don't know if those things are particularly road legal.
I know you can drive them legally in Whitefish. I fucked up on the map bit, too. I was like, oh, okay, cool. We're just
you got on some
downtown.
freeway.
Like, yep, we're going to go further. It runs at 80, happy as a clam.
You know, and I know a lot of the cops here, I don't know if they would pull you over or just give you a thumbs up on the way by. I saw you pull up.
I've been pulled over before. I just apologize a lot.
I didn't know you were staying with them. And like I said, I know they live in Whitefish, but yeah, you probably go a good 15 miles in that thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think from their house to here, it was 21 miles?
Yeah.
Something like that. So
the Can-Am is not traditionally considered a commuter vehicle for those purposes.
Oh, that thing also, that's the first time I've driven that one. They have another one that, and dude, that thing shits and gets.
Oh, yeah.
It'll burn tires on concrete.
Yeah. I did a trip out to the desert years ago. I got linked up through a random email, actually. Somebody sent me an email. He owns Brock. He owns a fleet of dealerships out in Phoenix. He's like, hey, bring your family out. We'll go out and we'll do a desert trip.
Yeah.
So we went out there. Fuck me. There are some people who dedicate their lives to those desert trips. So they made like this huge circle of fifth wheels and like toy haulers. All the ramps, ramps start coming down.
Really roughing it.
Oh, yeah. Well, and so there was like the Thunderdome in the middle. All the little kids had like motorized and electric four-wheelers. So they're just tearing shit up constantly in the contained circle. But these vehicles that started coming out, there was some 4-person Can-Ams. There was some custom stuff that I don't know how much horsepower it had, but when they were going up, what I could only describe as nearly vertical sand dunes, and the spit that was coming out of the back of those things, the rooster tail, fuck me.
Oh, and then they just, put those giant paddled sand tires on them, and they just...
And gun it, and you just see the thing zipping across.
Crazy, man.
And then they would get stuck, and then sometimes they would lose momentum, and maybe they tip over. Yeah,
it's sand. It's basically it's cushioned.
It's not enjoyable. My oldest son and my middle son were in the back, and they were doing like a joyride in one of these ridiculously custom vehicles, and it got like 3/4, stopped, and was just spitting sand, and I can just see my kids just like stop, and they just bombed out of the thing and ran down the hill.
Hey, I've got a couple other Navy SEAL buddies that retired from that line of work, and they're not fans so much of the beach or sand anymore. They feel like we've got our fill. I can do beach with sand, or I can do water. That's fair.
I don't feel like doing both. Like going to, where we are in the Flathead Valley, there is some beach, but it's mostly like pebble type stuff.
Yeah,
rock.
right.
No problem whatsoever. I'm not going to lie and say I'm a huge fan of getting in the water. I've had my fill. But what I really don't want to do is get in the water and then be told by another human being that I need to roll around and sugar cookie myself to cover every inch of my body, or, have that going down your pants into all the unmentionables.
You've had that experience.
Oh, fuck, it sucks.
You're good there. You've checked that box enough in your life of
You can tell people in buds what phase they're in by how they walk.
Oh no, just raw.
Just raw.
Just sandpapered out.
Leading up to Hell Week, it's they're doing okay because they're doing the training leading up to it. Then after Hell Week, where you're just completely and utterly chafed, like where you probably should be in a hospital bed for some people. It's just, it's ridiculous. And you see them. And then there's the under the armpit.
Just trying not to let any skin touch itself.
They're like
walking around like the star guy from
waddling.
SpongeBob.
Yeah, you're like waddling. You're like, oh, you just made it through Hell Week, didn't you?
Oh, man, I can't. I don't have any frame of reference, right? Like essentially, no military background, never had an interest.
You're not missing out on much. If it's not something that
I don't have the calling.
And that's the thing. People ask me all the time military questions, and I actually can't answer most of them because they'll say, I want to get in Army's Special Forces. How do I do that? And I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I worked with them, but I don't know. Or I want to do this in the military. How do I get a waiver for that? And I don't. I wish I could answer more specific questions, but my experience level was so narrow in comparison to what I did. But what I can say is if you don't have the calling, or it doesn't seem like it has a pull towards you, I would say look at something else.
See, I guess I look at the military as a complete civilian. As if you're going to pick one of the majors and go in, start, enlist, it's essentially like going into undergrad. And then if you've gone to Navy SEAL or Special Forces or Green Beret or any of these other type of things, that's PhD. And most PhD people I've met, like within academia, they know a shit ton
about one thing.
This.
Yeah.
And of course you don't know what the other special, like, it's like asking a chemist what he knows about architecture. Like,
You might find that random chemist that knows a shit ton, though.
maybe.
Most of them, though, are, I'd say, an inch wide and a mile deep.
Right.
But yeah, people, pre 9/11, I think the military, it drew people for different reasons. They were going for, an economic change in their life because it's a government job. You're going to get paid 1st and 15th.
You're also likely not to get fired.
It's actually pretty hard.
Right. It's a
pretty
secure
hard.
position. Yeah.
And there's educational benefits.
Right.
So you could really change your socioeconomic station in life, wherever you're starting from. And you could travel around a lot. So there's a bunch of experience. Some people who had joined pre 9/11 probably were not ready for the post 9/11. They were in the middle of an enlistment pre Love and Life, and then post 9/11 hit. People who come in a post 9/11 world, I think they have a better idea of what they're coming in for. It's less, I think, about the educational benefits and more about that they feel driven to serve.
Yeah, I would say that there was definitely a stretch of like, well, we could do the military. I'll probably get out without ever having to see combat.
Which about 85% of the military doesn't, it's not even their job to engage in direct combat. There's plenty of ways to go into the military if you have no desire. I was actually talking about this. I do a Friday episode where I just do Q&A.
Right.
And I was talking about violence. I mean, my experience with violence in the SEAL community was way different than, say, somebody who was on a nuclear submarine or somebody who was on an aircraft carrier. When I joined, I went to a school. I was an operations specialist. That was my rate. So I was a E5, but also I was an OS. What would that be? I was an OS2, which meant E5 operations specialist, second class. My job, had I been in the fleet, would have been to monitor and use radar scopes and equipment in a room called the CIC, which I think is the Combat Information Center. You're not, part of your issue, your daily issue is not a gun.
Okay.
You're not getting on helicopters. You're not going to, gather intelligence or work on a network or go and kinetically take down a target. That's just not your job.
So you're essentially helping schematics get people planned for them to go.
It's not even that, I think. And again, so I've never seen a radar scope for real in the fleet, but it's they're monitoring aircraft in vessels and subsurface type stuff. So they're gathering information for fleet-specific operations. There's no need for that, even what we were doing in Afghanistan or Iraq. There's no need for that, anybody to sit there and be looking at a radar scope. But oftentimes, aircraft would come off of aircraft carriers to support us, and then they would go back, and they're talking with the, you know what I mean? It's
right.
So the vast minority of people in the military actually have a job that is by design supposed to see combat.
Okay.
And then even inside of those communities, the number of people in those communities that actually see combat is far less than what most people would think.
Yeah, and I mean, my own ignorance, even having close friends who've served at a lot of different levels, I just don't know shit about it, right?
Yeah.
You think you do from whatever various forms of media or this and that, and you don't, of course. It's like any
just don't
job.
watch TV shows.
Oh, well, depends on how you go in to watch them.
I'll give you that.
So,
if it's for a documentary and you're watching the CBS show SEAL Team, you're fucking up.
Right. Documentary there. Man,
yeah. If
the
it's entertainment,
Netflix, the World War II in color.
I haven't seen that,
It's
actually.
excellent.
Okay.
It is really, really great. I also haven't seen the They'll Never Grow Old.
I haven't seen that one
So
either.
it's Peter Jackson did it. It's a Lord of the Rings director.
Okay.
And it's all colorized footage from World War One.
I wonder how they do that.
I don't know. I mean, somebody's more talented than me. But World War One's gnarly stuff. Just the technology change that took place during that war.
World War One, and then the Deuce afterwards. We're talking trench warfare.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Let's just go invade Iwo Jima, like Guadalcanal, all of the amphibious landings. I look at what those people do. Like, I've never had to be in the opening scene of Saving Private Ryan.
Right.
I have never in my life had to be inside of a landing craft while getting heavy machine gun fire, mortar, and then basically run up a beachhead that's full of obstacles. Like, those guys, their balls drag behind them.
Yeah, I'll never, ever have a thing in my life where the game plan is, we think we have more people than they have bullets.
Yeah, if that's your plan, you need to do better.
But fuck.
That's so horrendous.
Terrifying, man. And yeah, I'm good over here just saying thank you a lot to people who provide me the life I get to live.
Yeah. You know, people will say that, they'll say thank you for, providing my freedom. I've had people say that to me, and I actually take the time and I stop them. I'm like, listen, nothing I've ever done had anything to do with providing you your freedoms. The freedoms were established or at least maintained on the founding of this country. It takes some sweat equity to protect those things, but don't think for a second that at least a modern day soldier, and this again is just my opinion, I'm not saying it to put down soldiers at all, they're a mechanism of preserving and protecting rights and freedoms, not actually providing them. And I think it's an important delineation. Because you'll hear vets sometimes like, fucking going over there, I'm going over there so you can be free. It's like, let's step back a notch. Let's step it back a notch. I'm not saying you're not, but let's look into the grander scale. Like, you were free when you were born because of the documents and the founding of this nation and how this nation is set up. So let's just ratchet. I need you back at a 7. All right, I need you to 7. You're at a 10 right now.
Well, people's insecurity always plays weird, right? Especially about justification of a job, justification of a thing you want to go do, especially a passion. And then, I mean, how many people are looking for the thing they do to be the identifier of
who they are?
Right. I mean, people that go into, fucking anything. I mean, I know a lot of guys.
Professional athletes.
Of course.
Yeah.
And then don't know how to walk away.
Because,
this is
like
the
Wellborn.
fucking thing I did.
John Wellborn has been defined his entire life by playing offensive line.
Just a big, dumb offensive line.
He is. Which is how we met, by the way.
Right? When you all playing against each other?
No. I actually know I've been with John when we told people that I play with him, and he would like go into this narrative of how I was I think he said I was like, it's free. I didn't even know the shit he was talking about.
Free safety.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm just like,
sports.
I'm just like, I scored a lot of 3-pointers, and I was just like, God damn it, shut up. But yeah, you don't want to talk about a guy who's not defined by it.
Right.
And
it's also John's really smart.
Well, and that's what I was just going to say. People wouldn't assume, because he is, let's be honest, a massive beast of a man. He's smaller now.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Right.
But
look, you're not playing 12 years as an offensive lineman or 11 years as an offensive lineman in the NFL and a first-round draft pick. My brother played a few years in the league, and Andy's 6'5", 330, and played at A&M, but. I mean, he's very happy to tell you the reason that career didn't continue is they stopped asking him to show up. And so even at that level, the
it's
variance
not that I got
talent,
cut. They just stopped calling me.
It's as if they stopped offering me a paycheck.
But John, I met him for the first time, and within minutes of sitting down and having a conversation with him, you could tell the guy's crazy intelligent. And then you find out he went to Berkeley, and one of his majors was in rhetoric. You're like, dude, you used to smash people's head in the offensive line. Like, fuck, it's crazy. But I think he also might be a little bit of an anomaly.
Oh, for sure.
And that's an assumption on my part because I don't know that many pro athletes at that level in that sport. But he's smart as fuck.
A lot of folks that make it to that level, and like whether that's the people I know that have been Olympians or different levels like that, like most people who reach that level, they've had such singular focus for so long it's blinders.
Yeah.
And you do get people like John who maybe love playing the sport but don't necessarily love football, if that makes sense, right?
It does, actually.
I'm very good at my job, but on Sundays I don't need to spend all day hanging out watching other people do their job.
Yeah, and at some point in my life, I want what I used to do on Sundays to be the past, and I want to use that as the lever going forward to something else.
That's something that's always blown me away, right? Like that. So my background is I did track and field in college.
Where'd you grow up?
Louisiana.
Okay.
So born and raised, was there up until a year ago, moved to St. Louis.
We'll have to get to that at some point.
We will.
Because there has to be a reason for that move.
Divorce.
That's a good reason for that move.
But all good. And so did a handful of years track and field at LSU and was a very average shot putter, discus thrower, hammer thrower across the board. If you are 10% better than me, you could kind of consider maybe going post-collegiate and chasing the Olympics. And if you're 10% worse than me, you're dog shit.
Okay.
You're absolutely bad. So that's where I'm at. Few years of strongman, few years of powerlifting, and then found Scottish Highland Games. And whatever weird configuration of my skill set lent very well to it.
You got to describe what they are. I know what they are at like a super peripheral level. I know you guys are wearing.
This isn't a big thing your audience is into, the Scottish Highland.
I don't think most people know what it is.
Most aren't. Of course not.
I know that you're wearing a kilt.
Got a kilt. And so
what's under the kilt?
I wore compression shorts because otherwise, like you would say, this
not what I
walking
wanted to
around
hear.
like this is what I would be. There hasn't been a moment since I was 15 that my legs haven't touched each other, much less if I'm putting an abrasive in there. It's a terrible plan. I'd just be a bloody, awful.
I thought you were going to say thong.
I have worn a thong under one before. It's really funny.
Yeah, I would imagine, because I would imagine at
You
times
spin
they
a
come
little
up.
bit and it gets
Yeah.
a little up. Yeah, it's nice.
people
Plus, my ass is tattooed. It's an entertaining.
Oh God.
Great show.
Oh God.
So we have 9 events. The most popular everyone knows is the caber, which is big telephone pole, right? You have 2 stones you throw, basically like a shot put. So you have one you throw standing, and then you have one you can full approach, however you want to throw it. Various weights. The heavy one is 28 to 22 pounds. The light one's 16. So same as a regular shot put, but a stone. We throw 2 hammers, and so they're a 22 and a 16-pound ball on the end of a 50-inch stick or piece of PVC pipe.
Really?
Yep. And so you spin it around. You don't move. So you wear boots.
So it's opposite than the traditional hammer throw where you're spinning?
Correct. So you stay fixed. Well, it predates the Olympic hammer.
Okay.
As far as
that makes sense.
Whatever that means, right? And so you work it around you, but you wear these boots that have like this 6-inch blade off the front of them. So you bury those in the ground.
Oh, okay.
And so this way, as the weight passes you, and you catch it back onto the right side here, you can pull on the ground to accelerate it. Otherwise,
torque going on there.
I mean, if I've got a 22-pound ball that I'm going to throw from a fixed spot, 115 feet, I'm moving.
Yeah.
And if you're not anchored down, you can't.
That makes sense.
It'll win.
I don't think I'm going to get a ball that's heavy 115 feet.
Right. And then the light one, the 16, I'll throw 140-ish.
Jesus Christ.
And so those 2 events, and then we have the weight for distance. So it's a steel block, a couple links of chain, and a ring handle. And so you hook grip onto it and spin twice and throw it. There's a 56-pound and a 28.
Okay.
Kind of looks like the discus. Throwing it somewhere between discus and traditional hammer. And then you have 56-pound weight over bar. Just throw for height as high as you can.
What shape is the weight in?
Looks just like the one we throw for distance. They just get rid of the links of chain and put the ring directly on it.
So it's a solid piece. You're not throwing a sandbag.
It's basically a kettlebell.
Okay.
But the ring is independent of the implement.
Okay.
Also much smaller diameter handle to grab onto. So up for height over a bar, and then the last event we throw is called the sheaf, and it's a 20-pound like burlap bag that you throw with a pitchfork for height. So I traveled for 10 years with a pitchfork, like my own.
Carry on or checked?
Check it. Also, when
that
you get to the airport
so
with
sweet
it,
to see that as a carry on.
when you get to the airport with it, like I've got a bag over the end of it, like a shoe bag, and then like a PVC pipe over the tines, so they're not jamming stuff, and then like pipe insulation over the handle. Whatever they ask you, is that just say yes. Whatever ends that conversation, because no one has ever guessed pitchfork.
Nor, I don't think they would know what to do with it.
They get super confused. We had a buddy we threw with out of Canada, at a Halifax, that got to the airport and they were like, nope. He's like, what do you mean, nope? Just check it. And they're like, no.
Huh.
Had to bring in like photos of him competing to
For
prove
them
that
to
it was
actually put it
athletic
on the
equipment.
aircraft?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had some interesting conversations with TSA. Even like the podcast kit that I used to travel with in that box. So like, sir, are there any batteries in here? What's in here? Are these checked firearms? Like, it's just audio recording equipment. It's not that big of a deal. They take it quite serious sometimes. And then other people are like, I don't give a fuck. Just put that thing up here and we'll just go ahead and get it through.
That's a whole nother thing. As much as I'm sure you've traveled like I have, that why is there so much variation in TSA at different airports? Because of people.
It's people, and they get different leadership, and they probably get, I don't know much about the TSC, but I bet you they have this overarching guidance that is then probably refined further in areas that, like LA, where they have supervisors and all that stuff. So they're probably drilling it down. And then in other areas that are smaller, they're like, hey, read this. And then.
The Kalispell airport's a little laxed.
Here's the deal. I'm not going to complain about it because I can get there 15 minutes before a flight and still sit down for 5 minutes. Yeah. There's been some times where that's saved my ass.
Man, St. Louis's airport, so previous to St. Louis, I used New Orleans, but it was about an hour from my house. New Orleans airport sucks. The St. Louis one's pretty sweet. 20-minute Uber ride. I'm at my gate in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's international. So that would be my only hang up of here, is that I have to fly somewhere else. Yes.
So right now it's a dumpster fire because I've decided that 2020 is the Chinese year of the dumpster fire.
It's been interesting.
There used to be 5 Delta flights per day, options coming into Kalispell, and
Are they down to like 3 a week?
Yeah, it's really rough. Like
That's why we drove up.
I was trying to get out to see my buddy John Dudley, the archer, and I've been there many times. And I can leave here in Kalispell in the morning and get to Des Moines, where I fly into maybe midday. And I started looking at flight options, and it was like leave the afternoon, overnight in Salt Lake City to Atlanta, Atlanta to Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minneapolis to St. Paul to Des Moines.
No thanks.
I was like, hey Dudley, it's going to be a bit before I'm able to come out and see you.
It's easier to drive.
It actually would take me less time probably to drive.
Man, it's honestly my favorite mode of transportation. I've got a truck I've built up that.
I saw the pictures. You have some overlanding stuff on there.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's starting to look like, I don't know if you're familiar with the classic film Labyrinth.
I'm not. I feel like it's not a classic.
David Bowie's in it. It's pretty good.
I feel like it's a classic to you.
It could be. Jim Henson, David Bowie, what's not to like? But there's a lady that essentially just has this carrying everything on her back, like a chair and parts of her house and all that, and my truck's just basically turning into it. That's what overlanding is.
So you have a pop-up tent looked like on the back. What's in front of that? Cargo carrier?
Yeah, cargo carrier.
Okay.
So since I've got my chick and my media guy trying to figure out like where 8 weeks of our clothes go. And we're not packing 8 weeks because we'll stay at a friend's house and wash clothes and be normal humans, right?
They have these things called laundromats.
I've never heard of them. Don't trust them for damn sure.
Well, you wash your own clothes. You don't actually have to like give them to somebody. Yeah.
I thought it was a barter system.
No. Well, perhaps if there's somebody in there. I'm talking a coin-operated
The beauty of those is you can wash all of it at once.
Yes, because they're about the size of this table.
Right. Or you can use two. So I've just swapped out the roof tent to an iCamper is the one I got.
iCamper.
And,
Can't say I've heard of that.
I had a Tepui, and it was nice. No real complaints about it. I switched to this because it's a hard shell.
Yeah.
And the Tepui, like Bonnie and I could open it and have it fully set up in under 10 minutes. This one I can do by myself in about 90 seconds.
I have a roof nest, the Sparrow XL.
Right, so it just goes straight up.
It's a clamshell as well. To get that thing open, you undo a strap, 2 clips on the side, push the back. It's got pistons in there.
Mm-hmm.
It goes, actually makes that exact noise.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah, I don't think it actually makes any noise. So those are my own personal sound effects.
You start adding them in.
Yeah. And then I come to the front, and it's, if I was hustling, 30 seconds.
Right. That's about what mine is. And the inside of this thing's like a king-size mattress. It feels really
memory foam?
big. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. It's
and it
2020.
just pops out, the other side pops open, and it's great.
And reverse the process to get it back down.
Easy enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, we leave like our sleeping bag and everything inside of it.
You
just
are
mush it
describing
flat.
the exact setup that I have too. Sleeping bags, all the bedding, pillows stay in there, press it down, and doesn't change the gas mileage because it's super low.
Well, my truck gets dog shit gas mileage. It's a Tundra. They're not known for
Yeah.
economy. That 9.5 gallons, 9.5 miles to the gallon is doing great.
I have my tent on my F350, and it's a diesel and still, I think, 20-ish on the freeway.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, mine is awful. But I've swapped in a 50-gallon tank, so it just looks like I have an air duct under my car. So
You can
big.
go for a long time, but damn, 50, whew, gas prices have been cheap. 50 gallons.
It's nice right now.
50 gallons 6 months ago was probably a pretty couple $100.
Yeah.
Damn, man.
Yeah, so
how did you get into the Highland stuff? If you went track and field, how'd you find it?
Well, I knew it existed in college when I was competing. You kind of know of it as a thrower. At least you know the history kind of how the sport and Scottish clans and all that started, right? And so I knew they existed, but like at that time, so I finished college in like 2005.
What'd you get your degree in?
Oh, general studies. I really spent my time well at LSU. I got a minor in English, a minor in psychology, and a minor in communication studies.
Perfect.
Wildly valuable. I don't think I've ever filled out a job application, so I mean, I don't really know how useful it was. I finished college because I had a track and field scholarship.
Do you feel like if you could go back now, do you feel like that there was enough value in that educational pipeline that you would do it? I'm assuming,
would I rerun it the same way?
I'm assuming you would probably change what you dedicated your time to or devoted your time to. But was there enough value in the experience of going to college itself? Because I have no experience at all.
For me, especially getting to do sports, 100%.
How about from the academic side? Is the information or the studies that you did it prepare you for what was going to come after? I guess that would probably be a better way to phrase that question.
No, not at all. I mean, I've written a couple books, but my grammar and stuff's terrible because I just don't give a shit. I'll pay an editor.
I was going to say,
fix
people,
all that, right?
there's
There's
people who
are
specialize
really good at that. I'm not.
Inch deep, mile wide, in editing the written word.
I'm an idea guy. Fine tuning's not what I'm here for.
Yeah.
But maybe the communication studies, and maybe if I really wanted to squeeze out some of the psychology, because I spent 10 years doing outside sales in the oil and gas industry.
Okay.
And so that's a lot of dealing with people and figuring out.
Insight into people would probably help there.
How do I get us where I want to go
Yeah.
and let you feel right all the time?
And also let you feel like it was your decision to
Yes.
get you where we wanted to go.
I don't care how you feel about it as long as we go where I'm hoping.
I asked that because I have my oldest son is 2 years from being college age, and I did not go to college. I was in the Navy by the end of my junior year in high school. I had already enlisted. Now I had to finish high school to go, but I don't.
I would have much rathered, right? Like I think it's sad that we don't have this option, and maybe they do and I missed it, but I should be able to go to school on this athletic scholarship, and why can't LSU or our major universities also offer welding?
Like trade school
Yeah.
components. That's what I was going to
Because
ask
if you want
next.
to work,
Yep.
I mean, that's the way to go.
And you're going to come in entry level with a really good paycheck.
Yep.
A lot of the
And you'll always have a
trades-
job.
Yeah.
Well, as long as you want to work.
My dad owned a construction company in Santa Cruz, and it wasn't until he basically shut it down when my mom was dealing with cancer for her second time, which eventually ended up taking her life. But he worked at the level that he wanted to work for as long as he wanted to. There was always work in the trades, and he, had the opportunity to put a couple young people on, to include myself. But I mean, from an economic perspective, when I was in high school, like I had a bunch of cash because I was working a trade.
Right.
And still, I can still do tile. I don't fuck with lumber, plumbing, or electrical. Get the fuck out of here with all that.
I'm not
Specifically
interested.
electrical.
So you're a decent carpenter?
No, I don't fuck with it at all.
Okay.
This table, let me tell you about this table. I didn't make this table. A buddy of mine, Cameron, made this table from Montana wood. This thing is amazing. If I would have made this table, well, we wouldn't have a table. We'd have a cardboard box sitting in between us.
That's very,
right now.
very similar to what my carpentry skills look like. I'm really fucking bad at it. But also, it's not a shock that I'm bad at it because I don't ever do it.
And plumbing scares me too, but the one that scares me the worst
It's electrical.
is electrical.
You mean the get dead part? Very few deaths in plumbing.
If I have to do anything near a socket, every single fuse in my house is out.
Flip the whole main breaker.
And then I sit there like a total pussy and be like try to touch it first to make sure it's dead.
Like the back of your hand helps?
Yes!
Like it's a dog?
I've always been told if you grab it, like if you
Yeah,
touch it with the front, it'll clamp it down. So I sit there and I like tap it, and then I'm still scared when I'm working on it. And then I like try to stand when I turn it back on. And I feel like it's going to explode. Out of
At
the
least
wall
it's
outlet.
not strong enough to really get you. 220 on the other handle.
Yeah, it's not the amps, it's the volts, right? Or the other. I don't know what either of those are.
Either. I know both seem bad. I know we kill people with electricity, right? Like, so.
Yeah. Yeah, however that saying goes, it's not the amps or the volt, it's the volts. If you don't know what either of those are, it doesn't matter.
That's a very, very good point.
All you
Just
hear
avoid
is
it.
if I touch this, I'm going to die.
Yeah, a lot of times it's just easier to say, there's people that do this for a living, right?
Yeah, it's worth the money.
Yeah.
But those
because
people
I
are
can
in
do
demand.
this weird thing.
And those people will be in demand.
And they should be.
Yes.
The skilled laborers, and that's part of what frustrates me currently with the tone of our country, right? Is we don't have this skilled workforce. And so
Or it seems maybe it's diminishing.
it is diminishing, right? Or that, and that's, I think, part of why the middle class has become what it is. People graduate from college with a shit ton of debt and then think that equals this corner office with my degree. And like, no, you're
15
entry
years down
level,
the road.
dude.
Well, and so that's the conundrum I'm at when my kids talk to me about, or they ask, what do you think about the future? I don't know.
Do you think your kids are going to be like doctors, lawyers, or nurses?
I don't know. My middle son is a legit genius.
Okay.
He, the conversations I have with him, like he'll come, I'm divorced as well, so I have limited time with my kids. The conversations I have with my son when he's with me, I have to fucking Google shit when he's gone. I pretend like he doesn't say things that I don't know what he's talking about, but like I'll go on my phone and put in the notes app. I'll be like,
superimposed me?
no, I'll be like, I need to fact check so I can crush this little son of a bitch the next argument that we have. But he's super smart, and he
Just steer the conversation to things you know about.
yeah. Primary colors, white, black. And he's like, no, Dad, that's not them. I was just like, you don't get any dinner tonight.
It's hard to concentrate when you're being yelled at by a friend.
He could do whatever he wanted to do. but he doesn't necessarily know what he wants to do.
You're not supposed to.
And that's what I tell him. I tell them, don't be in a rush. And I hate that question. What do you want to be when you grow up? I'm 42. I don't know what I want to be.
Dude, and back to that thing that we try to find as this identifier, right? And like when I retired from the Highland Games in 2016 due to injury, I made a big move and dropped 60 pounds of body weight and shifted gears.
That had to have felt awesome.
Well, I was also fucked up because of an injury, so
Yeah.
my body
just
previous felt
skeletally,
better.
yeah,
I'm happier
skeletal-wise.
now.
Yeah.
On the backside of 9 knee surgeries and a fake knee, but
How old are you?
37.
Damn.
Yeah, I've played the nickels on that. Everything else runs pretty good. That knee's not great.
Yeah.
But oh well.
So you got a warranty on it now, though. You're fine.
It's true. It's nice, made of metal, real sturdy. Yeah, it's tough, man. Like,
I want them to make the choice for themselves. And I almost am at the point where talking to people about higher education, more often than not, I hear them saying things like you did. Like, I would change. You know, I got value in certain areas, but the areas that they got value in seem to be smaller than the areas of their by a substantial margin. I almost think there might be more value in a trade school if they want to go that way.
there is, as far as if you consider the route for higher education not to be learning more information, but to be help you get better job placement. If that's why I wanted to go to college, was make more money than a high school degree was going to get me, because money for me equals options.
Yeah.
And options are freedom.
But like you said, it may not if you're entry level versus a trades job.
But you're going to be entry level. Look, that's why they don't pay 22-year-olds very much, because you're fucking dumb. You're 22. Your brain doesn't work yet.
Works a little bit.
Oh, barely. It's barely worked out. It is at 22. There should be a couple years of like, which bills should we pay this month, for just a little bit.
I think everybody goes through that phase.
Should.
But what I think is horrendous is a 22-year-old with 6 figures of debt already out of the gate. How are you going to pay that off? And the thing is, the people loaning the money, they know.
They know.
They
Well,
know.
Of course they do. It's a giant. What would you? I can't think of the word.
Scam?
Yes, as far as the loan stuff goes.
Yeah.
It
Predatory?
predatory. That's right. Yeah, that stuff really bums me out. It bums me out that we've also let the system get that way. I was very fortunate to have school paid for, and my chick's school was paid for. She did college somewhere else, and my ex's school, she had her parents helped her out, and she had in Louisiana. There's a deal that like it's a pretty minimum ACT score and curriculum for high school, and they'll pay tuition at in-state colleges.
Really?
Yep, it's called TOPS. I
Yeah, that's
don't know if
a
it's
good
still
deal.
around, but I had it. So that plus my athletics was a full ride. And I also worked the whole time I was in school, and my parents helped.
But just to be able to come out of those 4 years and not be saddled with
Or
incredible student
other
debt.
friends that go to PT school and stuff like that. And then I'm like, so man, you don't really start getting a paycheck until your mid-40s?
Yeah.
And you can't default on that loan. Like, there's no way to back out of it.
And from my understanding, too, they'll accept these microscopic payments. Of course they will, because the interest on that fucker is running perpetually.
Well, it's the same fucking we get on the housing market, too, that the interest is like, that the boomers set us up. My parents bought a house for $17,000 that's probably worth $150 right now. Well, yeah. And my house, no matter where I buy it, is never going to be 10 times the value I paid for it. That'll never happen in my lifetime again.
The house my dad lives in now, I want to say that he bought it for, I think it was no more than $250. This is my understanding, but I think it was in the higher ones. Santa Cruz is a very small town, but it's close to Silicon Valley. So a lot of money comes over Highway 17, beach access, beautiful cliffs.
Yeah, Santa Cruz is lovely.
His house, like the median cost of a house in Santa Cruz is almost $800,000. It's a college town. He could, and I don't understand. I mean, so sure, they bought that house when I was in the Navy, but even if that was 20-some years ago, that's a 5x increase in the value of his house, nearly a 5x increase in 20 years. That's fucking nuts.
Well, yeah, before the mortgage is paid off.
Correct.
Yeah, that it'll never happen for me.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck, man, the first house I bought, Did a great job on that one. Really killed it. I bought the shittiest house I didn't mind living in. Paid $96,000 for it in Louisiana in a terrible part of town. 10 years later, we caught a flood from a hurricane. I got 4 feet of water in it.
Oh, no.
So I'll tell you a side story on that. So 4 feet of water, and I ended up gutting it and selling it to my neighbor for $40,000.
Buy high, sell low. That's my investment strategy.
The insurance covered me for another 40. So a house that I owned for 10 years, I sold for $82,000.
And the sweat equity that you put into that and the little things that you...
At least when I got it, man. So that's at least a difference in the mortgage then, because that would have been like 2006. They're handing them out.
Yeah.
I had a handwritten letter from the tattoo shop I was working at saying I made X. And they were like, sounds good. You're approved for $350,000.
Stated income low.
At 14% interest.
What could go wrong? I remember that time period because I was, let's see, that was 06. So I was an E6 in the Navy, not pulling in gold doubloons every 1st and 15th, right. Not walking around with a fucking satchel of sapphires. And in the military, it's an Excel spreadsheet. What rank are you?
That's how much you get paid.
How long have you been in? Now, there's some special pays that come with being in the special operations world. But other than that, like in the Fleet Navy, it's like, this is your rank. This is how long you've been in. And I'm watching people, E5s, E6s, do stated income loans for $1.5, $2 million homes. And it's like...
I just can't imagine having a $10,000 mortgage.
Well, imagine the complicity in these fucks running the paperwork, too. Like the broker or the real estate agent saying, oh, you're an E6 in the Navy. Would you like to look at this $2 million home? It's like, come on.
Right.
No, I'd like to say that the ethics of that, it would prevent them from doing it. But you know goddamn well, they're probably taking 3 points on a $2 million home. I'll take $60,000.
Well, also... they don't give a shit. If it forecloses, they'll sell it a second time.
Well, their paperwork is already passed. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Yeah, the mortgage broker will get a second stab at it.
Right, perfect.
And they'll get the commission on your purchase and then maybe the sale.
It's a no-lose situation for them. There's no punishment. Yeah.
It's like divorce.
Again,
it's like divorce lawyers. You know who wins in a divorce when it comes to making money? The lawyers.
Yeah. And so, I mean, whose responsibility is it then? Is it an ethical thing, or should the buyer say, I can't fucking afford that?
I would like to think that people have enough personal accountability, responsibility, and integrity to say, this is how much money I make.
I mean, they sell Lamborghinis, too. I'm not going to pick up one of those.
I know. And like any smartphone, right? It's going to have a...
mortgage calculator?
Or just a calculator in general. Let's figure out what your monthly income is and maybe not commit yourself to an adjustable rate mortgage.
I like about 80% to go to my housing.
Well, and that's in the first 2 years. Because then after it flips, 172% of your income... It's
the adjustable rate thing.
That was insane. Yeah. I had a guy that I worked with who was a SEAL, who went to he went to jail, a little prison time for messing around with some paperwork.
Oh no.
Yeah, it wasn't a good look.
They'll get you.
And the thing is he preyed on the community as well. You know, he was a trusted agent inside of that community, and it did some damage to a lot of people. And not the community of people you would want to fuck over. He's a little bit safer because he came from it, but a lot of machine guns.
Yep.
He knows how to use one too, though.
Sure, but there's only one of him.
Yeah. Fuck. So how'd you meet John? Because that's how
So I met
you and
John
I eventually
through. What would be the first time I ran into John? Maybe either through Kelly Starrett or Mark Bell.
I do not know Mark Bell, but I used to know Kelly well. We just haven't seen each other.
Kelly's great.
Yeah.
We'll definitely see him while we're out on this trip. We'll make our way out that way. I've got a ruck I'm doing in San Francisco.
Okay.
Middle of next month. It's like I'm doing a 50-miler.
A 50-mile ruck?
Yep.
Yeah, let me know how that goes.
It's probably going to suck super bad if I'm guessing.
That's
I got to do a
never
20-pound pack. Look, for me...
Is there like a scale there?
Yeah, probably. I'll just carry a 20-pound pack. It's fine.
I'm just saying you could put a pillow in there.
I got strong legs. And look, it's... For me, after competing and doing the strength stuff as long as I did, I'm really enjoying kind of leaning into endurance stuff because I'm fucking bad at it. And it's fun to feel progress again.
Isn't Rob doing that too?
Rob has been.
Yeah.
I do bikes. I'm not trying to run. This fake knee and running are way down.
Probably a little bit more low impact.
Also, bikes gives me more cool shit to buy.
You can accessorize a bike.
Oh, bikes are great.
If you're running, it's like, look at these
cool
fancy shoes. Also,
Sick.
this Batman belt full of goo and other sugary things.
Yeah. Also, distance runners don't have a physical build that I'm interested in.
I don't think, let's be honest, you're ever going to achieve a runner's
I'm never
going to
be
build.
good at this, right? Like I said, when I
You're a
was,
massive man.
yeah, when I got done with the Highland Games, like I had success in that sport. I won 2 world championships, and then the other 7 years that I was a professional, took second at Worlds, and had a great run. Chances of me finding a second sport that I'll be best in the world at are pretty fucking slim. Most people don't find one.
What do most people do after Highland Games? Because, I mean, again, it's...
Most just continue into like the master's class after 40 and just throw and have a good time.
Is there a way to make a living doing that, or are they doing it as a enthusiast more than professional?
At that level, it's kind of enthusiast. The professional level, which I was at, there's money. Man, great.
Assuming if you're winning.
Yeah, so figure the years during that stretch where I'm one of the top 2 guys in the world the whole time. I would compete 20 times a year in about a 6-month window.
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
you're
so
doing
the
at least,
season's April till the last weekend of September.
so a minimum of 2 a month, sometimes 3.
Sometimes 5 weekends in a row.
Wow.
And travel out to them. And the Highland Games is a cool loophole of athletics. They pay for your travel. There was prize money every week. And, I mean, took care of it. They flew us out. It was great.
Do they have like a governing body that's covering that for you?
No, which is even cooler. That it's just festivals. It's kind of WWE. We're there to entertain.
Okay.
Right. The festival has the heavy athletics out, and now none of what we're doing is scripting, but we're there to put on a show. This is what the crowd wants to see, the caber and all this other shit. So I made about 25 grand most of those years.
Total?
Yeah. Not over the 9 years, but per year I made $25,000
In the Highland Game
having a
activities.
hobby.
Okay. It's a lot of work travel for 25 grand.
Yeah, but it's fly on Friday, come home Monday, and I loved it.
Yeah.
It's great. I had a great time doing it. I got to do it. My brother competed in it, and we got to hang out. And the other 10 guys that I was with every weekend, because the pro class is small, we all know who each other is. Same dudes every week. It was great. I got to spend 3 weeks in Scotland during the summer and go compete over there. It was a great time. I knew this wasn't going to pay my bills.
Okay.
So I had a real job during all of that. That's when I was doing the outside sales stuff. And then that later pivoted into this apparel thing I have going now. So,
well, what's the apparel thing?
it's called HVIII Brand Goods.
Do you know how long it took me to figure out your fucking Roman numerals?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's been a smart decision 6 years in now, but
HVIII. And I'm sitting there looking at that.
It's better than the current climate if I actually had it named hate. So that's the blessing I just try to look at. It's like, fuck, man, I'm glad I don't have to explain that to people.
How'd you come up with that name?
So I think my brother came up with how it's written. He was using it as like a gamer tag on Xbox or something like that.
Of course he was.
That
What
way,
game
right?
was he playing?
At that time, I have no idea.
I'm going to guess Call of Duty. There's a very, statistically,
That
the
makes
odds
sense.
are it was Call of Duty.
That makes sense. And so, yeah, did that and have run with it. But the hate was something that he and I had talked about. Like, we've never been sports fans. I like athletes, and I like individuals, and I like whatever that drive is. And so the example we always use is like Jerry Rice. I mean, this guy's Pro Bowler, the best he could be. And even into the later years in his career, he's still up at 4, like going to run sprints and run routes and try to get better.
Yeah.
And I always looked at it as like, that dude hates himself more than I do. A perfect example
Hate
of that
is the motivating factor.
I'm assuming you know Rudy Reyes.
Fuck. I don't know how. I do know Rudy. I don't know how to describe him, though.
Rudy hates himself more than I do.
Yeah.
In a good way. Like, look,
And potentially
in
a bad way.
too. That's right.
Yeah.
Right. He lashes himself. It's not a big deal. That's why he doesn't have a shirt. It's easier.
And his shorts are far, far too short at all times.
He's an amazing looking human.
He is.
One of the most fascinating people I've ever met.
I have to agree with you on that as well, too.
Yeah, there's not a second.
He's on, I would describe it, at all times.
I have never seen him not on.
I have not either.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I've been there. It took me a few years to really get used to him and think, I'm like, man, you can just chill. We're hanging out. Like, I don't need you to perform. And then I've come to the realization that what he's doing exercise-wise, Rudy is very aware of what Rudy's demons are. And this is how he keeps them chained up, in sight,
Yes.
and on top of them.
It puts the lotion on the skin.
Exactly
Or
right.
it gets the hose again.
And so let Rudy be Rudy.
I'm not trying to stop him. I have to go off and on from watching his Instagram page because he freaks me out. And then I need to take a break and then I can circle back.
That's safe.
And then he freaks me out and I circle back.
Yeah. Yeah,
He was at the damn summit too.
Yep.
The day that, because I remember he was trying to answer the questions that I was asking, and I finally said, "Shut the fuck up, Rudy," in the middle of speaking at John's Power Athlete Symposium.
That adds up. That adds up perfectly.
Yeah, he was sitting there like 3 rows back with a fucking scarf on, which Rudy always has a scarf on of some
I'm
kind.
assuming not sleeves. He's probably
probably
sans sleeves at the time.
Of course. It probably was a collared shirt with a ragged tear on the sleeves. Pants that were at the very least spray painted on.
He's just a human G.I. Joe. He's an action figure.
He's
He's an action man.
That's an apt description. He is an action man.
Look, he originally got hired from Generation Kill to be a consultant, and then they realized no one else could play him, so they're like, "Fuck it, you're in."
And he probably did an amazing job.
Did a great job.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, that's how we originally met. Had you met John before that?
Yeah,
symposium?
I've known John for a while prior to that.
I like what he has going on with the power athlete stuff.
It's great. We've recently, myself and Derek Woodsky was another guy who spoke. So he and I have recently started working with the company Train Heroic and offering some programming that way too, which John and them have done
Awesome.
a great job of programming wise. And so Derek and I kind of same age, background as far as track and field stuff, and we're kind of just wanted to write programming for like, are you kind of beat up, would like to feel good again, but also lift?
Have you ridden hard and put your body way wet repetitively for decades?
My favorite way I've ever heard it described was it's from Kelly. And he's like, look, at the end of my life, whenever they decide to cut this tree in half and examine the rings, there's 15 years of fire damage.
Kelly's such a unique dude. I worked with him in my early days working for CrossFit. I'd see him all the time. I think he actually referenced me in his leopard book.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Speaking of dumpster fires, how has CrossFit been?
It's been interesting. So today is, it's July 3rd. I have to be very careful with what I say because there's more to come, is my understanding. And the reality is, it's not for me to say anyway, because the things that I believe are going to come are about other people being able to speak. And the last thing that I want any of that stuff portrayed as is something that is being driven by me or me having an axe to grind.
And I read your article, and it's great because you spoke about what your experience was and didn't.
And in hopes that it would allow people to speak from their experience. And
I hope so too.
What I will say is, it's been, so I did a podcast episode. The New York Times wrote an article. Business Insider actually came out with one today about a different version of the story. Like I said, there's more to come, but the difference between what I know now and what I know then is startling to me. And I've actually spent a lot of time thinking about those environments, thinking about how does this shit happen, and working it backwards from just utterly catastrophic, horrendous shit to what it is that I saw. And my perspective on it has changed substantially. Okay. There's a lot of small things that I think add up in the aggregate. There's a lot of just things that would be easily ignored, but now it's like, oh, that makes sense. That's why that person would behave like that. That's why those comments are made. And you brush them off at the time.
Yeah, hindsight, right? That you don't have a frame of reference to say, that felt odd.
Or how somebody could say something fucked up and they would do it in a perspective where they're judging the reaction of other people. If somebody's like, hey man, like you shouldn't talk like that. Okay, well, I'm not going to push that person any farther. But if somebody else laughs and doesn't say anything about it, perhaps that's somebody that you could pressure a touch more and pressure. You know what I mean? It's just, it has consumed my brain for the last few weeks. It's been tough. I've had multiple stretches of nights where I've had a really difficult time sleeping. I mean, it weighs on me that what I didn't realize what was happening so close. It really weighs on me.
Again, that perspective's tough, right? And it's always easy in hindsight to look back and say, I should have said something, stood up or this and that. But it's so easy when you're so limited to being around those people that you can, especially say, how people act when they know they're going to be dealing with, say, someone like you with this Navy SEAL background and think, this hard-edged guy, maybe I'll say some shit to kind of...
Except I'm not. And if they said shit like that, I'd be like, yeah.
Of course. But you're also talking about people who say shit like that. They're not smart.
Yeah, it's true.
And so it's easier to just be like, all right, that was a one-off. Maybe this isn't the guy I want to hang out with. And you just operate in your world of like, noted.
Yeah.
And then you don't realize that like, fuck, everyone you deal with, it's this.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how it all nets out. I think it'll be a while before a level of scrutiny and clarity comes to the whole thing. But I think the more attention that is paid to it, the more will come out. And I think that the organization will probably survive, and I want it to survive.
It should.
And I tried to be very clear about that in the video that I did. I like the methodology. I think it's beautiful in its efficiency and effectiveness. But at the same time, if there are systemic issues at an organization, which, you know, leadership drives culture, we should observe those things. We should objectively look at them, and then the corrections should be made that need to be made.
As someone who's never worked with HQ, but know a lot of folks who have.
Yep.
I didn't think it wasn't common knowledge that HQ was full of shitty people. And not full of.
I know what you mean, though.
Right?
And again,
this was the leadership. It's been this way. It has been this abusive scumbag mentality for so long. And then when...
I think it's easier to... I would agree with you. I don't think that it was anything but an open secret. I don't think that people were totally shocked. I think the difference is, and this is purely my opinion and viewing this from a distance, for a long time, their star was on the rise, and they could push and maneuver how they wanted to.
They could do no wrong.
But
they were just printing gold.
But when your star is on the decline, your latitude to do that and to pressure people and to basically say it's our way or the highway, it decreases rapidly.
But how weird is it, ego-wise, to never look at maybe this is what's the cause? It is, you know, what's driving that boat is actually what's causing the decline. I think it's really impressive that they built such a strong community that it will happily fucking survive without their leadership.
It will 100%, yeah. If CrossFit headquarters, and this is not what I want to have happen, but if it were to cease to exist overnight, the community would be fine. They'd have some branding issues, and I'm sure they would split into.
But they're already doing that now. Everyone's disassociating.
I don't know everybody. I don't know the exact numbers. You know,
there's the 5 gyms I know personally have.
Yeah. And they have a lot. You know, they say that they have 15,000. And again, I don't know any of the legitimacy of the numbers when they talk about overall scale or overall de-affiliations. It had an impact for sure.
But I never understood what the gyms got from being an affiliate other than able to call their gym a CrossFit gym. Because I never saw them support the local scene. You got a guy cruising around on private jets, and you have a bunch of fucking gym owners trying to get their shit together.
That'd be a better question for
I don't know, right? And it's just something I think about. And it's, look, CrossFit to me, as someone who's come from the strength and fitness industry, and that's still where I make the majority of my income, nothing has put more barbells in people's hands than CrossFit. And this to me, fuck yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard many Olympic lifting coaches saying that CrossFit essentially saved
USA weightlifting.
Yeah.
Of course.
The resurgence of, you know, bumper plates. I mean, I don't think I had ever...
Rogue's business.
Yeah, and they've diversified incredibly too.
Also, I can't even begin to think of like trying to keep up with that growth curve financially.
Bill and Katie are behind the wheel of a behemoth.
Yep.
I love seeing their growth. I love them as people. They're awesome. But yeah, I try to keep up with that machine.
Be like, all right, let's we'll double capacity, and then before that building's done, we need to double it again,
and then build another one, and then another one, and then to be able to pivot during
and then like
the pandemic
anything
time.
That grows that fast, you have to be worried about that it loses steam that fast.
Of course.
And like, fuck, are we standing here now holding our dicks with this 50,000, 500,000 square feet of campus?
Whoa, my chair broke.
Oh no!
I remember the first time I saw a bumper plate, and it was at a CrossFit gym.
Okay.
And now it's like it's weird if you don't see one.
Right.
But nobody had seen them before. Like 24-hour fitness, I'm in the early 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like you're going to have some octagonal plates that were made out of metal, maybe coated into spray paint or rubber, and you're going to be clanging and banging those sons of bitches.
Whenever I was doing strongman before CrossFit had kicked, we had 2 training groups, and both of them were out of storage units. We just kept all of our equipment in a storage unit. We'd all show up on Saturdays and run strongman events, right?
Yeah.
We all chipped in and paid $70 a month for this storage unit that 10 people paid for. So, and that's essentially what boxes became.
Yeah.
And I love it. as far as I like the methodology. I like the idea of the training.
I love that it's getting people active. They have a sense of community. There's a lot of really great things about it.
Right. And it got a hard time for a long time about bad coaching, but fucking bad coaches exist in anything.
I was doing jiu-jitsu earlier today, and the coaches I have are phenomenal.
Man,
not all coaches are phenomenal. No. Some of them are suck. Some of them are creepy.
That was the sport that I really wish I could have pivoted into.
Jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Oh, you would have ripped people's fucking arms off.
Yeah, I just can't now.
You don't think you could?
I'm not flexible enough. I can't kneel.
That's going to be a problem.
Like if you go anywhere near my leg, I'm just going to tap. Please don't touch me there.
That's 50% of your body?
I'm terrified of it.
Yeah. I suck at jiu-jitsu, trust me. I've been at it for 2 years now, and it's a constant, like almost every day, like scratching your head. Like, I don't understand how this works.
I was able to take classes for about 6 months prior to total knee replacement, and I really, really liked it. And I went in and was very, very clear with the owner of the gym and the guys that I was rolling with of like, hey, man, I'm here to learn. And the way I took it, right, was I know that I've got this strength level card to play in my pocket. But I don't want to play that card. I'm not interested in going in there and just being a gorilla to tap someone out and training to prove a fucking point.
Well, at a certain experience level, your strength is going to get used against you.
Of course. So I want to go in and be gentle and try to figure out technique. Because if I can get
foundation of technique with your attributes,
and then have that ability, it'll be fun.
You. No, thank you.
Right? And then
you would be a nightmare. With like solid foundations and fundamentals and then your strength, you would be a nightmare.
Yeah, now at this is the weight I would want to do it at. 290 me, not so much.
I would just attack your knee, your bad one.
Of course.
I would identify which one it is and try to headbutt it.
Perfect.
Yeah. Like, oh, yeah, that's...
He taps anytime I'm even near it. I breathed on it.
But there's great coaches in jiu-jitsu, and there's ones that suck. And that's, I hear people criticize CrossFit all the time, like, all it is high rep, high weight Olympic weightlifting. It's like, that's that's not it at all. And that's not the experience you're going to get if they watch the CrossFit Games. Like, well, I don't want to do that. I'm like, that's not the experience you're going to get at an affiliate gym. You're probably going to be handling a PVC pipe for more than you would want to. For
you should have.
Yeah. And you might do some Olympic weightlifting, but they're going to teach you first. Like, that's what a good coach is going to do, that controlled exposure. But, yeah, the misconceptions about it kind of abound. I know that the community will be okay. I hope that CrossFit headquarters can become what I think the community needs. But I do personally believe that there's some changes that have to occur for sure, beyond just the ownership change that's been announced.
Right. Yeah, I mean, shit. What? They put Castro in control for about 48 hours.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it might have been a week. But again, it makes sense to have a guy who comes in with that robust business background to run a business.
Yep.
I'm not saying that Dave is incapable of it, but if you want to turn that into what I think it can become, you probably want some experienced business
I think between
people.
Greg and Dave, at least from my outside looking in, Dave's not been liked generally for a long time. I don't know if it's a smugness or what have you, personality-wise. It's abrasive.
It's
got a real punchable face. I don't know if that's the right term.
I am going to
allegedly.
Yeah, I'm not even going to answer on that one because I consider Dave to be a friend. Like,
okay.
And here's the thing: he and I aren't close. We didn't serve together. I respect him because of our shared background. Before I actually released the podcast that I did about Greg, I called Dave and I told him that it was coming. And I told him it's because of respect of our shared background, and he was the new CEO. But we're not close. And what I can say is I understand exactly why people feel that way, and everybody should make their own opinion on that one.
And I'm also aware, too, that I don't fucking know the guy.
Yeah.
The only interaction I've ever had with him was like the CrossFit Open in 2015. There was a handful of us that got disqualified during it because they
the video portion where you submit?
No. It was like a 15A, 15B. And maybe I've got the year wrong, but it was like a triplet of toes to bar, this light deadlift at like 175, and then a snatch at 175. And it was like, do as many rounds of this as you can in 9 minutes.
Something about that.
And then you've got 6 minutes to put up the heaviest clean and jerk you can. And then they were scored separately, and as in like 2 separate events.
Gotcha.
So a bunch of us got together and realized that that's how they're scoring it. And for especially with the way the teams get picked, like your athletes that put up the numbers don't have to go with your team to regionals as long as they're in your gym.
Oh, I remember hearing something about this. Yeah.
I went in.
You were
at
able
the
to
time,
game the system, weren't
yeah,
you?
Yeah, I've got a 375 clean and jerk. And so
Me too. It's no big deal.
right. So why wouldn't
Just
I
take
go
a
help
few
my
hundred
local
pounds off
gym?
that.
Right? So I did one toes to bar.
You did 1 rep of each?
And no, I did one toes to bar and then fucking hung out and went to go get ready to do a clean and jerk.
And
And they DQ'd me.
Yeah.
And they should have.
yeah, I get that. You were gaming it. I remember this
100%
happening.
they should have.
Yeah.
My issue was is someone said it to them during the live of like, well, do you think people will sandbag the first half to do this? And he's like, well, it's not going to help you, but it would have helped the team because they were scored separately. All they had to do to fix that problem was combine the reps plus the weight.
Correct. To a cumulative score.
Easy day.
Yep.
But I got a bunch of emails from Dave.
Oh, directly?
Yeah, because they cut my score. And I responded, I was like, I think you should. But I think it would also be terribly foolish to take the moral high road as a gym and not participate this way, and then your team doesn't go to regionals.
Yeah, just create a better rule set.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
But if these are the rules you're giving us, cool, we'll come play. And there were like 20 of us who got the boot. And we just laughed. It was like, we are the anaerobic. We are the strong.
Cheaters.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Toe to bar, I'll be over here getting ready to lift an
but
insane
then
amount
they
of weight.
let some of the guys who put up big lifts like do one round. And I'm like, okay, so where are we calling the minimal amount of effort that makes it qualified score?
Yeah, now you're talking about subjectivity.
Right.
instead
And
of
so my issue
objectivity.
with that is the posturing. If I'm not giving it 100%, I'll just do fucking one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just as stupid as me doing it for 45 seconds to finish one round and then walk over.
It's an interesting, CrossFit is an interesting ecosystem.
But my exchange with Dave then was, it was fine.
Yeah,
It
that's
really
good.
wasn't aggressive.
I'm
Just
glad to hear it.
personality-wise, he doesn't seem like a guy I'd want to have beers with.
And here's the thing. His personality is his to defend,
Absolutely right.
you know? So people can judge however they want to. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who feel the same way about me. And fuck all of you who feel that way about me. I'm the nicest person ever, except for the people that I don't
So
like.
what drew you to the military?
You know, that's a tough one for me to answer. And that's the same answer that I got from a lot of the people that I worked with. I think it had something to do with the nature of the exclusivity, I don't know what the exact word would be, but just the idea of what that job was.
So you didn't regular enlist and then...
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
I went from high school boot camp to the occupational school, that operations specialist school, operations specialist A school to BUDS, and then BUDS into the SEAL community.
Okay.
Straight shot. Wow. It's what I wanted to do since I was like 11 years old.
Well, then that's the draw.
Yeah. But again, I don't know why that community was the draw. I don't know why it was that instead of
that
Ranger,
cool movie.
Green Beret. I didn't see the movie till much, much later, but fuck yeah, I watched that.
Saw him jump off a bridge out of the back of that Jeep.
Yeah,
Probably
that
the
shit
coolest thing you
doesn't
can
work.
do.
MP5s and handlebar mustaches. Powerful. Nomex flight suits. I go back and I watch that movie. I'm like, oh my God.
I love your breakdown of of action movies and shit like that because one of my favorites is the hard on people have for John Wick
Yeah.
and the Keanu Reeves gun training and this and that. Meanwhile, I like movies and I realize what I'm watching there, and it's the same thing I'm watching with Fast and the Furious. These are superhero films.
Essentially, yes.
Well, there's a 2-minute clip in the first John Wick where he goes into a place and they're like, we have a suit that looks exactly like a suit and bullets can't penetrate it. You just made him invincible. And we never, ever have to deal with the fact that he doesn't get shot the rest of 3 movies.
This is true.
That's all they did. They're like, ring of invincibility. Here you go, bud. Spell casted.
I hadn't thought about that.
They hand him an invincibility suit and then he can just run around holding the jacket like this a bunch.
That movie.
No one shoots him in the hand.
Yeah, that movie is a movie.
It's a movie.
Yeah.
Same as Fast and the Furious. I don't believe The Rock can hold a chain attached to a Black Hawk and then pull it back and hook the chuck to it.
I am 100% positive he cannot do that.
I don't know. He's pretty strong.
Yeah, there's a lot of torque.
the amount
Flight
that those
lift
movies,
capability.
The amount those movies just say fuck it.
And the amount of money that they make.
It's incredible.
But people
they are wildly entertaining.
because people go in there and they put their butts in the seats knowing that this is a fuck it movie. It's not a documentary. That's how I view like I can make it through John Wick because I'm not sitting there looking for tactical instruction or guidance.
Perfect. It's entertainment.
It's pure entertainment. And I go in there and I'm like, all right, dude, this. I mean, it's a revenge movie.
Yeah.
I can get behind some revenge.
I like Kill Bill too.
Yeah,
It's
I
great.
can get behind some revenge shit. So yeah, I'm gonna watch it for that because people ask me to critique that movie. I'm like, listen.
That's not what that movie is.
And he's actually doing a really good job.
Look, there's a big difference in the tone of John Wick and, say, Sicario.
Yes,
Or
for sure. Sicario has one of the worst tactical scenes ever. Sicario
with the guy in the
1,
car.
with the fucking bolt locked to the rear, and he's just looking through it.
Well, he likes it as binoculars in a club, basically. It works better that way than actually.
Here's the thing, though. An EOTech is not a binocular. It's a zero power holographic sight. And I know how that stuff happens, having done some technical advising stuff now. It's just a shot that was done, and nobody saw it, and the editors don't pay attention to it, and it's like, hey, here we go.
I've shot quite a bit, not any amount that should register, but I've been around it enough, own a handful of guns, enjoy shooting. The one thing that movies fuck up for me is how loud guns are.
Oh, when
if
they
you
put
fire a gun in a car,
they put a suppressor on. It's like,
oh
pew,
yeah, get
pew,
out of
pew.
here.
Here's the thing: you fire a gun in a car through the windshield.
No one talks for the next 2 months.
Well, not even that. You are basically going to powderize glass, and that shit is going to get in. It's in everywhere. Like you need to have eye pro, ear pro. You need to be like buttoned up because glass, powder glass, gets everywhere. Yeah, and I also love it too when they shoot from in a car through the windshield and are accurately hitting things like hundreds of yards away. It's like no,
With a pistol.
no. Yeah, like your rounds like pew, pew, pew. They're all over. the
Or
place.
shooting like this out of it. Like, you're not hitting anything with a pistol at that distance. Most people, you can't hand a pistol to and at 30 feet hit anything.
Yeah, they'll hit the earth at some point, but
yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
But like an 8-inch steel target, no chance.
So who do you train now? Like, what do you when you say you spend most of your time doing strength and conditioning? Is that online
So most of my
training?
time is the apparel company.
Okay. Well, you said you make most of your income, I guess, from the
Well,
strength
that
and conditioning.
community.
Okay.
That's where the apparel company is based. It came from a book I wrote about training for the Highland Games, those type of things. And the hate was one of the mindsets that I'd spoke about with athletes. So that, like, be willing to fucking do the work.
Yeah.
Like, be accountable to you because it matters to you.
And hate is a powerful motivator.
Works for me.
Yeah.
You know, and it's looking.
Hopefully you don't hate other people and aren't motivated by that.
Nope.
You're talking
No,
about the
self-motivation through self-loathing.
self-motivation through self-loathing.
You know, there's a healthy amount of self-loathing in
I
there
love
of
it.
like, what I see in the mirror today's not good enough for tomorrow. Let's.
It's nothing like rolling out of bed and seeing yourself in the mirror like, you are a piece of shit. You know your day is going to go well if you start
That's a
like
good
it.
start.
Positive
Good
self-talk.
start. Self-talk, right?
Like, it's you again, huh? Fuck, I thought I was done with you.
Man, the best is like looking back at photos that I've definitely taken. It's like, oh yeah, I look sweet, and I'm like, woof, like you're still 280, bud. You look like memory foam.
So the journey through an apparel brand, I'd have to imagine that was full of left and right turns and pitfalls along the way.
I did it a lot different than most people. I knew some folks who were doing it, and I had no interest in starting one. I had the books, and I was just going to continue to put a book out every year and also keep this regular outside sales job.
How many books did you write?
I have 3.
Okay, killer.
They're all based on that, working on another one about the knee and some other shit.
They're all the 3 you have written, though, about Highland Games preparation?
There's one that is like the actual throws events for Highland Games with a bunch of like shot by shots of technique and how to break down the events and then how to program the events for a season to peak when you should want to peak. And then I have a strength conditioning version of that for how to train for the Highland Games for a full season.
Okay.
The third book was basically a general strength and conditioning version of one specified for the Highland Games. So
Okay.
like, oh, you don't want to compete in stuff or you want to do powerlifting, here's how my methodology would
So they
play
got
into that.
broader.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so everyone could train this way. And so, yeah, did that and then got into the apparel. I had a buddy of mine reached out who was doing some apparel for someone else, and he's like, have you thought about doing T-shirts? I think you got enough interest. I'm like, fuck, man, I don't want to do that. I got a real job, and like, I don't have time.
T-shirts aren't a real job,
Well,
man.
I don't have time to box up 4 shirts today and go to the fucking post office. Because the way the outside sales jobs work is I'm gone a lot. I traveled. And then I'm traveling to compete. Like, I'm not home. And so I can't do it. And he's like, oh, well, I've got a warehouse and we do all this for another guy.
A little drop ship action, if you will.
And so I was like, now you have my interest. And so he's like, well, if you come up with a design, we can print one, photograph it, you get the site up, we'll do a pre-order, and whatever that turns into. We did a pre-order of our first shirt October of 2014. Had about 100 of them sell in 2 weeks.
Is that good or bad?
It's okay.
Okay.
I mean, I don't have a work. I mean, whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
And so
better than zero.
Loosely, we're talking about a 50% margin.
Okay.
So I sold 100 shirts, had money,
Made double your money.
printed 200 more shirts.
I see where this is going.
That's basically what I did. And then the pivot from there was we now drop new items probably 3 out of 4 weeks of the month.
Really?
Yeah, I put out a lot of stuff. I like doing the graphic design work.
So is it mostly like lifestyle T-shirts?
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's not heavy lifting stuff. There's no barbells on any of the shirts or.
Is it affliction like gold and silver macrame? Like what?
It is. It's really nice. Very bejeweled.
Bedazzled, if you will.
I like a contrast colored stitching on my jeans. It's a really good look.
I know some people who wear bedazzled jeans.
Do they live in
Baffles
Dallas?
me. No, I'm not going to use.
They're from the Dallas Fort Worth.
I'm not going to
area?
use any names. I know somebody here.
Oh no.
It gets me every time.
Oh man, it's an odd look.
I support people having an odd look for themselves. Here's the thing: if you like odd shit, you go do odd shit. I'm not going to judge you to your face,
I'm happy.
but I might think things that I don't say.
The contrast stitching on your jeans is essentially the same as like a shitty bumper sticker on your car, letting me know that we don't have to hang out. we
Gives you
don't
some
need to waste
insight.
each other's time here. And so, yeah, did that and then made more stuff and pivoted. I figured, look, I have very simple way to break down business. I have new customers and I have return customers. And if I only sell one shirt, only new customers can give me their money. But if I make new stuff, I can appease these people that have had my back and keep putting stuff out and try to do it all with, some message. Like we dropped a line of stuff yesterday and it was this Be Harder to Kill. And I
support that.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think that we should be more resilient. I think we should be challenged. I think we should find something to adapt to. And I mean, fuck, man, the body loves adapting to whatever you give it. It's incredible that I can go from being what I was to I did a 27-mile bike ride this morning with a bunch of climbing and feel great.
It's almost as if the body was designed to adapt.
Almost.
I'm not a doctor.
Right.
No, it adapts to the stimulus that you give it.
It's amazing that women can grow a whole person inside of them, and I can't fix this knee.
Yeah.
Figure out some wiring on that one. But, oh well.
Yeah.
It's a knee. I wouldn't change it. The life experience was worth it.
Well, you're still pretty young.
Yeah.
You got a warranty on that thing. You might have to get it switched out from time to time.
Probably, but the second one's not that bad.
Says who?
Well, all right. So I had 8 surgeries that were really shitty.
Like MCL, ACL, tendon type
4
stuff?
ACLs that didn't take.
Oh.
So I went in, got an ACL, and basically did 90 days of really hard rehab.
And your body rejected it,
It
essentially?
just ate it.
Really?
It's just gone. So any cadaver tissue my body's not into. I had burned, so I tore an ACL in college and got it fixed and did a patella implant for my own patella. They were going to use a hamstring tendon, pulled it, couldn't use it, and then used the patella. So that whole leg's cached on organic parts. I'm not going into the good knee to fix the bad one.
Yeah, I agree with you on that
If
one.
I got a working vehicle, the toy car can hang out.
That sounds like a risky
I don't need
proposition.
2 bad knees.
Yep.
And so it was a bunch of ACLs and then trying to get out of pain. And chronic pain's really what changed everything. That's what kind of led to everything really changing in the last 3 years. Yeah, was being like going from taking second in the world at a competition till I couldn't walk upstairs. Like I had to left foot forward, drag the right.
Fuck.
And being still fit and like it just felt trapped inside a machine that I don't know how to operate. And
I know the feeling, man. When
what the fuck are we doing? We can't jump?
Or when you tell your body to do something. I had some neuropathic issues from an injury I got at work, and I remember sitting there inside of my body. I was like screaming as loud as I could to move my toes, and they wouldn't move. Like I felt like it was complete drop foot. So I'm sitting there and I can feel, my foot, and I know like I can use my other foot. Like I understand the electrical impulses to try to get, and I'd be like inside. I'd just be like as hard as I could.
Toe.
Wouldn't move.
Fuck.
It's so frustrating.
Now, what caused the drop foot?
An interaction with an AK-47 round to my sciatic nerve.
That'll do it.
It will do it.
Yeah. Not like you kneeled too long.
No.
But that's happened too. So Kelly had drop foot.
Starrett?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
But not
probably
for-
because he's a sissy, though.
That's true.
That's, I believe, the medical term.
Yeah, he got it from a kayak. Like he got
dropped from a kayak?
Yeah, because he was sitting. So in the position that he's in that boat, you're sitting on your knees.
Okay,
like
that
sitting
makes
on
sense
your
so far.
ass on your heels, right?
That doesn't sound awesome.
And they were in a race. Kelly's a damn good boat guy.
Yep.
It was, I think, at a world championship or something like that. And he just got into a bad position and felt it going numb, but they're in the middle of it. And he's like, we got to go.
Went through it.
And got out, and a couple months of dragging it.
The nerve stuff was frustrating, not only because I couldn't move it, but because I would go and talk to these doctors who had spent the vast majority of their life in school. And all they would say to me is, we don't know. Nerves, millimeter a day, inch a month. And like, what does that mean? They're like, well, your nerve is going to regrow until it stops regrowing, and what you have left is going to be what you have left. It was very frustrating to not get, and it's not their fault, but from the person receiving the information, it was very frustrating to get, I don't know.
I can't even imagine that, right? Like I've dealt with shit, and I don't mind rehab because at least rehabs work.
Yeah, you're active.
I can't imagine not even being able to get to the rehab because it doesn't fucking work.
They put they put an E-stem pad on my leg for like an hour. That would be my rehab, and I would sit there and like, first off, I can't feel this. It's not doing anything.
Oh, you just get nothing, no movement.
There was really nothing. I mean, they could fire the muscles electronically,
right,
in place of the nerve, but it's not like it was helping me being able to control it. Whoa. And then slowly, months later, I was like able to twitch my big toe, but I could have, you could have taken a pinky finger on a child, could have just pushed it back over. Yeah. And I still have residual. I roll my ankle all the time because of it. I have to be really careful. But yeah, that injury, the chronic pain, if you haven't experienced that, it's tough to describe on how that, for me at least, imploded my emotional mental state.
Yes. For me, what it was, I attribute it to, as I've never dealt with long-term depression, I guess would be the term. Yeah, everyone's got moments.
Oh, for sure.
But I think it has to be similar in a way that, like, it's like having someone tap your shoulder trying to get your attention 24 hours a day. And even if you stop to give them attention, they don't give a shit. They're just still tapping you saying, hey, hey, hey. And it's, people think that if you're in chronic pain or depressed, that like, man, we went out last night and he was laughing and having a good time and all this. Like, well, yeah, because I can deal with it.
Also,
but as soon as I'm alone,
I had some cocktails.
Right. Yeah. I had done a bunch of weed before I got there, and everything was great.
Hey, man, people need to do what they need to do to get out of chronic pain. I have no judgment,
dude. So I've completely quit drinking. Well, not completely, but I don't really. I maybe 1 or 2 drinks a month.
My desire to drink has just augured in the last few weeks.
I fucking hate being hungover.
Yeah.
And I'm very pro-drug. There's a lot of great stuff out there. They're chemicals that are either positive or negative for you. This is your choice. They don't give a shit. And so, I mean, look, even the pain meds from all the surgeries. Now, I was very lucky in not running into that, but I was aware of it. I knew that monster exists.
Yeah.
And the only times I got nervous about it was they'd stop down regulating me, and I would feel things speed up, but get lethargic at the same time. I'm like, nope, we're done with that.
Yeah, there's some crazy shit.
So cannabis changed everything for me.
It's for in the Navy, obviously you can't use any of that stuff, and the Navy is obviously a part of the military in general. Mm-hmm. I cannot speak for the military in general, but what I would say in my experience is big pharma is it is the solution actually to what ails you. If you go in and you've got a headache, you're going to get a sandwich bag full of 800 milligram Motrins. If you go and you're in chronic pain or you have a procedure done, you're going to get Oxycontin, oxycodone, Percocet, fill in the blank. It's, my mom died of cancer in 2010, and she got to a place where...
What type?
Non-smokers lung cancer. Survivability rate of essentially nothing.
My old man, I lost in 14 to pancreatic.
It's fucking gnarly. Dude. So did he go down the chemo route?
Yep.
My mom did as well too, and I was overseas when this was happening. So
it was 11 months from diagnosis to death.
My mom would be at about 8.
Yeah.
And she had cancer previously 10 years before.
Man.
And so it was the second time being diagnosed with it. So she went down the chemo route, the platinum therapy and all that stuff. And I was overseas, so I didn't experience this directly. But in talking with or emailing with my sister and my dad, she got to a place where the chemo was going to kill her, or the cancer was going to kill her.
That's the plan. That's how they run chemo.
Well, it kills essentially everything, right? That's why it's so hard on your immune system.
We just hope you can survive longer than the cancer.
Well, my dad started making my mom pop brownies.
Right.
And it helped her sleep. And it helped her, have an appetite. And
I tried really hard and my dad just wouldn't.
Well, there's a lot of people who are very resistant to it.
Which I didn't understand because I know he had smoked at a previous time in his life.
I was resistant to it too. For whatever reason, it had this negative connotation to me in my head of, and I don't even know what it was. It was probably just because they harped on it so much when I was in the Navy. Like, you get drug tested, not that often.
All right. How old are you?
42.
Okay. So
on my driver's
37,
license.
so we've got a handful of years between us.
Yep.
We all came up with the just say no thing.
Yeah.
And that is part of it. That got ingrained at a very young age that this leads to you being a fucking loser.
That is true. That certainly was the narrative. And it's, to watch the impact that it had on my mom, I am of the opinion, my thing is, first off, like, I want people to be able to do whatever they want to do.
Same boat.
And if people are not impacting my life, if they're not trying to say my freedoms are more important than yours, I really don't care what people do or believe. I don't argue with people on the internet.
Exact same boat.
Fucking go be you.
I don't care.
Yeah. Do you want to wear a thong on backwards with a fucking tiara? Go ahead. I don't care.
Right.
Don't do that shit around my kids and don't do it around me.
Right. We have, as long as there's not legislation against it. And
yeah. And then so when it comes to stuff like weed, like, it has had such a positive impact and benefit on my mom's life, and I've seen it in so many other people's, that I think it should be classified as a medicine. But here's the thing: you can take it too far, just like you can take Motrin too far.
You can also take cheeseburgers too far.
Yeah. So it's, and I don't know how to legislate that.
We can't start protecting people from what could be dangerous from down the road. We sell alcohol and cigarettes, no fucking problem.
Well, if we were going to protect people from what could be dangerous, we would never drive or fly or do any of that stuff.
So that's a crazy argument. Also, we're aware it's not a gateway, and
for some people it is, though, and that
maybe.
it can be. I think broad terms when it comes to any drugs are tough. This is a gateway drug. It's like, that might be a gateway drug. Maybe some people, I know people who legitimately have addictive personalities.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
They had I was there when they had their first beer, and I'm like, whoa.
Right. You can see that you watch them no longer exist.
Well, yeah. And then it's like the next day and the next day and the next day. Whereas for me, I'm like, I could go out and party, and then the next day, I'm like, I don't have a desire to, and like,
I'm exactly the same.
I could shut it off for years. I actually went one time. I was like, I don't want to drink anymore, and I didn't drink for 2 years. And not that I was drinking an excessive amount, but it was more an exercise and self-control.
I do the same thing with cannabis. Every so often, It's just pump the brakes and reset the clock. You need like 72 hours to completely clean out receptors.
And for some people, that wouldn't work because they do have an addictive personality. I know that people say, marijuana is not addictive, but
but feeling good is.
That's what I'm saying. It can have an emotional addiction or, beyond just the physiological. And I'm okay with that.
There's no chemical dependency.
Yeah.
But there is an emotional.
And that's why broad statements like, this is not a gateway. Like, yeah, it could be. This is not addictive. It could be. You know what I mean? Like,
so with that said, the other drugs I have gotten into with psychedelics have followed the use of cannabis.
What's your experience been like with those? Because I
Great.
have had some friends that I know now that are exploring psychedelics in an attempt to, and this is me speaking for them, and I'm sorry if they may hear this if I'm describing this improperly. This is my description of what I think they were saying. To close the chapter on a lot of the stuff from the previous occupation, or to find healing from a lot of the stuff from the previous occupation, or to just maybe recenter themselves as a human being. Mm-hmm. I have not tried it. I have not tried psychedelics. To be honest with you, they scare the shit out of me.
Sure.
Because I don't really have any experience.
I felt the same way for a very, very long time. I always looked at it as like, man, that's one of those things people talk about that like there's a finite moment of the day before that and you were different after.
Yeah.
Right. And people, so quite a bit of experience with mushrooms, LSD, and over New Year's did 4 days of ayahuasca, and all of which I would consider very beneficial, even the difficult trips I've had.
I've a friend of mine described that. He described it as a difficult trip because of what he was forced to, I guess, observe and work his way through. Is that what you're talking about when you say difficult? Basically the scenario that is presented to you?
Yeah, and also just like set and setting. I fucked up one day and was planning on being on a long hike, and the hike was closed. And so like got a quarter mile into this trail to an impassable option, and then got back to my vehicle with a group of people, and then we ended up going to like some brewery to hang out on a Sunday, and now I've got 5 or 6 grams of mushrooms in me and going into this brewery, and like I sat in the truck for a while just trying to get my shit together to go in.
Figure out what planet you were on.
To just be like, and I'm always capable to not let it get carried away in my head, because I can say, this is a thing you took.
Yeah.
The weirdness you're feeling,
You can
that's
separate
drugs.
Yeah.
So get your shit together and go in like this was a choice. You took this.
I feel like I would have skipped the brewery.
Well, I didn't have that option. And so I had 9 people with me, and by the time I got inside there, I walked in, and it's really loud and a shitload of people and like kids, and it was one of those like big open type things, and they had skee ball and a bunch of other shit, right? Family stuff. And I just sat in the corner, sunglasses back on, hat down, and just sat. And the visualizations I kept getting about my anxiety was this like snake eating its own tail. And while I'm stewing, I want the fuck out of here. But I have 7 other people with me that are having a great fucking time. I chose to take this.
Yeah.
And so that lesson I kept seeing was, as long as I don't give this snake something else to focus on and keep the venom on itself, this will eat itself and fizzle out. And it did. And so maybe the lesson there is sometimes the discomfort you're feeling is yours, and shut the fuck up, you're okay. I'm in a chair in a place that's air conditioned. I'm not in danger. Deal with the turmoil in your head, and you'll be okay. Just keep breathing.
Yeah.
You're not in danger. Right? And so that was a very useful day for me to later on be able to reference for patience and just being in an uncomfortable setting of like, it's okay.
You were able to draw from that in environments where you were obviously removed from that physically and under the impact or the effect of those drugs.
Yeah, it has long-lasting effects of being in different situations and being able to pinpoint what I'm actually being bothered by and whether or not it matters. And if it doesn't matter, it's gone.
What was your experience like with ayahuasca? That was the difficult trip that he described. He said it was a very intense experience.
So we did 4 days. My girlfriend and I had gone to...
When you say that, do you mean back to back to back to back?
Yeah, so we'd gone to Costa Rica.
Okay.
We were at a facility called Rhythmia, and it was great.
Why did you decide to go there, to the facility? What were you looking for?
I had been looking at different places. I've had some other friends that are far more experienced in this line than I am, and I knew that I wanted to try ayahuasca. And like anything else, this opportunity presented itself. And so I was like, okay, I didn't have to find you.
Made the decision for you.
Yeah, they found me. They were interested because of the podcast for me to come, paid for the trip.
Oh, and
and
awesome.
I got to go spend 7 days at this resort. And the resort, a bit more like a rehab facility as far as resort goes.
Well, from my understanding, a lot of people will use ayahuasca as an attempt in their journey through rehab.
Yeah, I do think it's very valuable for a lot of that if you're okay with looking in the mirror.
What were you looking for going there? Why did you decide that you wanted to try ayahuasca?
I wanted to let go of frustration and pain and a bunch of those type of things just from dealing with my knee and being frustrated and still being hurt and 9 surgeries and losing my sport. Look, it's still really frustrating that this never got hurt. This still knows how to compete and fucking throw.
Everything below it can't, though.
Right.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like, man, I dialed it in for 10 years and I got to be the best in the world at a fucking thing. And, there's a lot of sports, but I'm aware that the 2 years that I won, there wasn't a human that could beat me. And that's cool. And I can't ever do it again. Like, I can't kind of casually go have a fun time doing that sport. It's gone. All of that years and all of that, it's gone. And so, like, I mean, what's that? Spending your life learning how to master the guitar and then lose your hands?
That would be a bitch.
And so even further from that, like, the way that I like to train is heavy and explosive. Can't do that either. So now how I mitigate stress has been taken from me. So it led to a lot of frustrations with injury and chronic pain, back to those things. So I was really hoping to figure out some deeper things there to let go. And one of the nights I ended up in this really deep conversation with my knee and hip.
I did not think you were going to say knee and hip, but okay, tell me more.
So there's 4 nights of this. So like I had 2 nights that I basically got nothing.
Okay.
Just nothing at all.
Really?
Yeah, just nothing. It happens. It's called a nada. And the third
I believe
night,
that is French for nothing.
Right. Yes. A linguist you are. This is great.
Yeah.
And the conversation with my knee and hip, it was like they started it. It was this like, hey man, we need to talk. I was like, oh, okay. And it was like, so everything going good in your life right now with your business, the podcast, all of this has stemmed from work we did. Like we have fucking dialed down our shield, man. What else is it you'd like from us that you're still mad at us about? How about a fucking break? How about quit hitting us with a hammer and a little bit of respect for the work we did? How about you spend the next 18 months, try to feel better. That's your goal in the gym every day. Feel better than when you got there. And it changed a ton, man.
When you say you're having that conversation, is this a visual experience or is this you're actually, are you
This
hearing
wasn't a visual for me.
Okay.
But it was an audible. I mean, I know that there's not noise in the room and I'm not audibly speaking.
I think I understand what you're saying.
But
yeah.
it is a conversation that I'm not controlling the other side of. It is answering back and not particularly happy with me.
Did you get enough from that experience that you would do it again?
Yes. I don't want to do 4 days of it again.
When you said 4 days, I was like, God
I
damn.
also don't like staying up late.
Oh,
and
does
like,
it?
Yeah, and these were overnight, and so like it was.
Oh, you're up all night?
So it would start at 5 p.m., and then you would usually, skip dinner, so you're fasted going in,
Okay.
So it works. Take medicine at 5, and then usually at midnight we were done, and you'd go back to your place and crash.
How do you feel the next morning? Is there a
Fine.
residual lingering effect?
Maybe a little down, if anything.
Okay.
So the first 2 nights that I got nothing, I really got nothing. And so like the next 2 days, I was really frustrated and I was really pretty just devoid of emotion. Like it was just empty. I think this was an experience I had built up for so long as this life-changing thing. And I finally get to go and I'm let down.
It didn't meet your expectation.
Right? And what they talk about with ayahuasca and psychedelics used properly, it gives you what you need, not what you want.
Okay.
And for me with that, it was like, good. The guides there, the shaman, are basically like, be frustrated. Don't let it go. And so that's the other thing is like as emotions come up because of the medicine and whether or not you think that the medicine is what's doing it, let them come and then let them go. They're leaving. And so it really did change a lot. I do think it would be something I would revisit. And the best way I can kind of describe it is like this check-in with your body or brain or Mother Aya if we're going to get that woo-woo about it.
Do you feel like a different person after the experience?
I think psychedelics have changed me a lot for a very, very positive perspective shift.
Mentality-wise?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Just perspective shift. I'm less apt. Anger's kind of out the window. Just no interest in being an asshole. Like, I don't need to be right. Ego's checked a ton. All of those wildly beneficial things. I can't think of anything I would say has been a negative change to it other than I talk about it a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what people do. They talk about things that have
Change their lives.
changed their life or have been impactful or that they're passionate about. I get it. My biggest hang-up, man, is, like I said, it scares the fuck out of me.
Yeah. But there's different levels, right? Like, you don't have to jump off the high dive.
Some people want to jump off the high dive.
Of course. There's nothing wrong with jumping off the high dive. But if you were saying, like, hey, man, I'm interested in trying psilocybin, what do you think? I wouldn't say have 7 grams of these.
Yeah, don't go eat a trash bag of it. Yeah, it's something I need to put my own time and effort and research into. I have yet to, talking to the guys that I know that have gone down that route, and these are guys that I know pretty well and care about their opinion and their experiences. They have all resoundingly said that it was incredibly positive.
That was the big push for me too. With the guys I knew, I couldn't think of anyone I had met that said, fuck no, I'll never do that again. And we're talking about a variety of types of people.
Yeah. Probably most of them A-type driven personalities as well too.
Yeah. One of the weirdest things I saw happen at the center, there was a guy there who had been, this was his 5th or 6th time there in about as many months.
Okay.
He's trying to do work.
He's putting in the work, it sounds like.
Yeah. So he would walk around during the ceremony and like speak in tongues. Isn't fucking intense, man.
Like,
and
that's the kind of shit that scares me.
Well, yeah, but I'm in a room with a bunch of people, and you can mitigate that too, different ways and different places to go.
Okay.
If you're ever interested, let me know. I can find other options that aren't a room of 30 people or
I don't need to be
100
around
people.
Dude.
I had 100 people in the room I did it with.
No shit.
I can't ever say to you that I felt crowded though.
Okay.
So
fair enough.
So this guy would walk around in tongues, and it was very aggressive, but it wasn't outwardly aggressive. I don't know if there's a way I can, like, he's just mad and walking around. And so he's been there a bunch, and he's fighting through it. And what typically happens on his trip, by the 2nd or 3rd night, he either leaves or won't go to ceremony.
Because he doesn't want to continue to battle it.
And he has said, so the personality that he's battling is this thing inside he's had for a long time, and his friends have named it, his name's John. And so they've named this personality flip of whenever it happens as Johnny Darko. Just an asshole and goes bad.
Okay.
And and so this spirit, if anything in him, is what is fighting and is what's yelling at him, don't go in there, don't go in there. It's building this fear of, you can't be without me. This side of you. And so he and I were talking at breakfast one morning, and there's this other kid in there who's dealing with a ton of crazy shit. His stories every day during the sharing portion of stuff is nuts. I'm not getting any of that. And maybe that's, my life's been okay. Like, I'm aware of that too. Like, things have been pretty sweet for me since 1983. And he's like, man, I just see what you're going through, and I wish I was feeling something like that. That's a really weird spot too, is to get envious of someone else's journey when yours is yours.
Yeah, you start
and
putting
it's what it's supposed to be.
You start. I see that with everything. It becomes not about your journey. It becomes a comparative measuring stick.
That I want to tell you the craziest thing I had. I didn't experience anything completely nuts. I got a lot of very internal stuff I dealt with.
I find that comparative measuring ruins just about anything.
Everything. Well, comparison's a thief of joy. Was that Mark Twain? I
don't know.
And yeah.
It's true, though. You watch people start something that they're passionate about or something new that they love, and then somebody else starts, and it becomes more about the competition, or maybe one person surpasses them, and the next thing you know, they're like, fuck this activity. Like, no!
The people who feel that way, though, also operate out of so much scarcity that it's crazy that, like, we're all sharing X amount of success. Like, why would I be a guest on his podcast? I have a podcast. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, it's a or symbiotic relationship.
Or me and Rob not being friends because I essentially do the exact same fucking thing.
Yeah, with his flag nor fail stuff. Yep.
They're just way better at it.
What do you guys, how long are you going to be in town for?
Probably Wednesday, Thursday.
What do you guys got planned?
We are going to go hang out at their lake house. We've got some other friends in town, and then play around on a boat.
Awesome.
Yeah, what do you have going on?
Not a whole lot, man. I actually have the rest of today. I got to hop on a video call at 5, but I have for the rest of today, and then the weekend off. Just
Come
chill.
hang out.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll text you.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll text you. Come hang out.
For sure.
Yeah, I think Rob and Dana bought a boat yesterday. So
Why would? Of course, they bought a boat yesterday, the day before they were going to use it.
yep,
It's going to get scratched. The first scratch is the only one that matters.
that doesn't seem to bother them about their toys.
Yeah, I had a great conversation with Rob. He was really cool.
Dude, they're amazing people. I've been very, very fortunate to be able to call them close friends. A lot of people, whether that's friends through On It or anyone else I've made friends with that helped me follow this path. Oh shit! Back to Johnny. Right?
Yeah.
So he says this, and on the end of the third night, he's like, "It's gone. It's not there." Like he left.
Johnny Darko left the room.
He left, and the kid who was talking to him about like being envious of his thing during sharing on the fourth night, he's like, so I met this other side of me.
Oh, fuck.
Seriously, he's saying, I met this other side of me, and it introduced himself and spells his name. It's Darko.
Careful what you wish for.
And like we just were like, they didn't have that conversation. So that was a very odd thing for me. I was like, okay, noted.
Yeah.
That's weird.
That is weird. Yeah, I've had a few instances in my life where I'm like, all right, I don't think I know very much, nor am I in control of any of this shit that's going on to any degree.
Yeah, and you know, I'm really okay with the indifference the universe has about my plight in this place.
I am too. Like, I want it to go well and I want it to go my way, but I'm okay with the fact that nobody else gives two shits.
Doesn't care.
Yeah.
Also, you know, with the amount of travel and stuff, that for me, I look at things like, I mean, for the size of the universe, right? There has to be the most incredible shit out there. An infinite amount of it, in fact.
I hope so. That's what I think.
Well, it is infinitely big. I don't believe all the best shit was stuck on our planet. It seems really
Some people
odd.
do believe that, and they also believe that our planet is flat, and I don't know what to
And
say
they
to
also
them.
think it's 6,000 years old. I'm glad we live in a place that is things are so comfortable that this is what we get to revisit.
Yeah.
That we get to think about stuff we figured out fucking thousands of years ago.
For sure.
Great work. But even though this 0% of the universe I get to explore, and then if we mix time into that, it's really none. There's awesome shit here and incredible people. And I want to see as much and meet as many of them as I can.
Can't argue against that. I think that's a hell of a philosophy to go through life with.
I mean, I'm gonna die. And so that was a big shift that came from the psychedelics too, was
The acceptance of death. I've heard that from a few people as well.
yeah, acceptance of death. And then, so when my old man passed away, so this is April of 2014. We'd gotten the word in January, like we were going to go in and have surgery and remove this chunk. The chemo had shrunk it. And they basically opened him up and they're like, fuck.
Everywhere.
Stitched him up. And so from that point on, it was like 9 different surgeries of just trying to buy time and like watch my old man fade away.
It's horrendous.
Dude
the
was a
decline.
Boilermaker his entire life. He's a welder. He's a fucking man, right? And then be waited on and watch that spark die.
The frailty as well.
And so he ended up shooting himself. And he had spoke to me about it before, and I never... The only thing I said, as long as it doesn't fuck up whatever mom's got for the insurance, I think you've got a right to make whatever decisions you want to make. If you're done, I think it's a shame that we don't have another option.
Yeah.
We would never let one of our fucking dogs live like this.
It's a true statement.
We'd never do it. You know, that death with dignity thing's a big one. And so he ended up shooting himself and passing away the day before my birthday. And he was 62, and I turned 31 the next day. And I just remember this feeling of halfway. And now I can stack some cards in my favor to try to mitigate that, be healthier, do some other things, but you don't fucking know. I don't have a guarantee that I make it back in the car tonight.
Yeah, it's not a car.
It's not
Can-Am.
right. It sure shit ain't 100% safety.
Correct.
Right? And with that said, like, so if I look at that and I extrapolate that out to say 70 at the time, it's like 1,860 weeks, something like that. And if every Monday you pluck a marble out of that jar and decide, was this week well spent or not? Did I spend this week doing a bunch of shit I was obligated to do with people I don't care about in a place I want to be away from? Or was I doing things I love around people I like? The marble goes in the trash can either way.
Yeah. It's spent.
You're not a fucking martyr for living a miserable life. Either way, both these roads converge with me in the ground. So what risk is there of trying to live a life that I really like? And psychedelics have laid into that pretty good.
It's a hell of a perspective. I agree with it completely.
You know, I'm not interested in having that. Was a recent trip brought this idea up, and it's further on top of that. It's especially traveling right now, that feeling at the end of a good trip where like I didn't do enough, I didn't see enough, and we're going back to the real world, and this time crunch, right, and this kind of panic to do. You should feel that way in your life, because all this is the trip. And no fucking way do I sit at the end of it and say, I wish I'd have done this or I'd have done that. I'll go. Then
that's the way to live, man. I agree with you. It's, you see people who are afraid to do anything because of either failure
or fear. Fear is such an incredible motivator for so many people, right? That and scarcity mindset. Yeah, I mean, it's even when I left the real job, when they finally let me go, I could have found another one. I had 10 years of experience in that industry and would have easily found another sales job that paid well. But why not try?
Yeah.
Because I can always go find a fucking job. I work hard.
And that is more than a lot of people, I think, are willing to do, which is bizarre. But yeah, I have no special skills whatsoever in my life, but I have the ability to just keep grinding.
Yep.
And that's pretty much how I've gotten anywhere that I am in my life.
Same.
Yeah,
right?
It's not I didn't come out of the box with, I can tell you right now, a higher than average IQ, physical ability, anything. It's just one foot in front of the other, and then the journey keeps getting longer and longer and more interesting.
So one of those interesting things that you do is the wingsuit stuff.
Yeah, I haven't done it in a while, but yeah.
So did you get into skydiving first?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that's the route.
The route that I would recommend for people is learn how to skydive, learn how to fly a wingsuit in a skydiving environment.
That makes sense. There's nothing to hit.
Correct. Then learn how to base jump, and only then combine the two activities, wingsuit base jumping.
Man, the risk to reward ratio of that thing seems...
it can be made to appear to be more dangerous than it actually is. There's risk.
You're not shooting any holes in...
I have. I certainly have.
Fuck, man.
But again, you don't have to go through the hole. You can have a primary, secondary, tertiary option. You can constantly be managing your distance from the terrain. You at some point you're committed if you're going to do mandatory performance stuff like that. But up until that point, you could bail at any time. And if the conditions aren't good, you can walk away. There's nobody.
And should.
Yeah. There's nobody with a gun to your head. So it's a risky activity, but you can mitigate and manage a lot of that risk.
Okay.
So, and again,
But so is there enough experience to where, me getting on a dirt bike and trying to hit a big jump would be dangerous?
Correct.
It's
But
not dangerous for Travis Pastrana to do a
course.
backflip. He could do it with his eyes closed.
And I bet he
riding
does.
motorcycles aren't dangerous for him anymore.
There's still a level of danger, but his experience
Yes.
is mitigating a lot of that danger.
Okay.
So, it's, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make it on YouTube or Instagram. The boring training. Actually, I'm not even going to say boring. The training jumps, the currency, the competency, the practicing, the trying to figure out new skills in isolation that you can put together slowly over time to make something look far more complex. Or to be able to achieve something complex by adding in small independent skills. It just takes time. And every one of those things that you enhance your performance at, in my opinion at least, that risk is going down because you have an enhanced experience.
After jumps like that, are you slaughtered? No. See, I just figured CNS overload of everything going on and paying attention that much during the actual action.
I've been jumping for 20 years.
Okay.
So I got just over 7,000 skydives, a couple hundred wingsuit base jumps. It's exhilarating.
Of course.
But I'm not like just
if it was
completely
boring,
spent.
I'd be very confused of why you're doing it.
But I'm not completely spent. I still can do the rest of my day. It actually enhances the rest of my day. It's not like a peak and then a crash. You're just really involved in the moment.
How long's a jump?
I mean, there's a couple in Switzerland. You can go off the HVIII where you're probably going to get 2 minutes of flight.
Whoa.
Yeah, starting off a cliff.
That's a long time.
But I mean, a wingsuit base jump flight would probably be somewhere between 30 seconds to 60 seconds, which is awesome when you're talking about jumping off a fixed object.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so towers are
going to be lower. It's, Monte Brento, I think, is maybe 5,000 feet in the air. You're going to get like a minute off of that probably. A tower, most people aren't going to jump wingsuits off of towers or buildings. You want to have some altitude, so you're only going to get a couple seconds of actual free fall from those objects.
And I mean, I know that we've got illegal things to jump off of. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, do you have to, what's permitting like to get, that I'm going to go and do this jump in Switzerland?
Switzerland is, they're permissive. It's legal.
All right. So just show up and go.
The Lauterbrunnen Valley, you go get some helicopter insurance. You pay your landing fee. You get a stamp for your helmet. So they aggregate the money to the farmers. So they'll actually cut out landing zones in their, in their grass areas. And then, base jumping can be legal in the U.S. I know some buddies who have done it for film projects because they sit there with a checkbook and they're like, just tell me when to stop writing numbers.
Zeros?
And then it's like, oh, that's an acceptable. Oh, and guess what? You may jump off our building. So base jumping becomes legal again. It's what you're going to get hit with is trespassing.
Yeah. Okay.
Going into a building that you don't have permission to be there on. Nobody owns the air. And then maybe.
Can they arrest you for jumping off of a bridge? I mean, that's a legal thing you're allowed to walk off of. Which part becomes illegal? The jumping off of it?
I don't know the specifics.
Right.
But there's the Twin Falls Bridge, the Perrine Bridge. That's legal 365 days a year. Cops will come sit there, have a coffee. And
come on. Watch people jump.
Watch people jump. And it's a great place for people to learn. So a lot of first jump courses will happen there because of the permissive nature. You don't have to worry about getting in trouble. There's enough shit to worry about as it is.
Yeah, that adds such a different barrier to entry of like, fuck.
Yeah.
I also need to not get arrested today.
And some people, I don't think even will go beyond the bridge. They'll go bridge and then go overseas where it's totally legal. They don't want to flirt with the illegal aspect. Because there's things like Yosemite.
Right.
Half Dome. Those jumps are amazing.
You've done that one?
No. Those jumps are amazing, but they're illegal.
They're illegal as shit.
And so then you're going to risk the fine. You're going to risk losing your gear. People have lost their life in just trying to get away from the authorities.
I also assume they'll probably get a ban to national parks.
I don't know.
I don't know how they track that. It's not like they have photos at the entries.
I don't know the exact totality of what would happen, but go get a plane ticket to Europe, and they don't give a shit. And you can land in their grass, and they're going to give you a fucking strudel and
it's safer.
Yeah, a cappuccino, and your day will be good.
Wow, man. It's an expensive hobby to get into?
Initially, there's some gear costs.
Well, you still have to skydive.
Bucks. Definitely need to skydive, so there's gear costs there. There's the cost of the aircraft. But base jumping, you're going to buy your equipment, and beyond that, it would be travel costs to get to where you're going.
How physically demanding is it?
Not incredibly. The hike, I mean, there's a hiking component. There are some places... like there's a pretty famous jump called the Crack, and I forget the name of the city that it's in Switzerland, and you actually take a lift all the way to the top, and you downhill walk for 10 minutes. But then like the HVIII, that's a 3+ hour fucking alpine ascent.
Yeah. I mean, climbing Half Dome sucks.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So that's the physical nature. The actual jumping off and flying a suit is not hard at all. Yeah, the suit is...
Yeah, I just didn't know like how much...
It's not that crazy. And the durations being shorter... not that long. It's not that hard.
Yeah, you ever spend any time in like the just wind? I guess
the wind tunnel.
Yeah, indoor skydive things. I guess
hundreds of hours. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in there. Yeah, during my military career.
Is that just like a cheat that like now we get to?
It's an awesome cheat. You don't have to worry about packing a parachute. You don't have to worry about flying an airplane to altitude. You can just focus on flying your body.
Oh man, I bet it's like having a foam pit, learning how to.
It changed the game.
Yeah,
I think it really changed the game, and now they're relatively accessible. And the skill level of like the tunnel instructors, the guys who fly in there all day long, fuck me, they're so.
They can do whatever they want. Oh. I love watching people that have like that level of body awareness.
And then they throw a parachute on, and they're just sky gods. They're just doing whatever they want to. Any movement, maneuver, they're just like, please.
You got to bring back skyboarding and all that.
Some people still do that, and I don't know why more people don't do that. I don't know. I've never done one. Again, that's another thing I look at. I'm like, I don't want to have that strapped to me.
Now, do you? I mean, I'm guessing the world of that's relatively small.
It is small for sure.
So, I mean, the only other person I follow that does that type of stuff, I don't know personally at all, is Mike Escamilla.
I don't think I know Mike.
Done some stuntman stuff, jumps, was a professional BMXer for a little while.
Cool.
I think he's got a podcast.
Who doesn't?
Of course.
It's 2020.
If you've got a following and people want to hear things you have to say, why wouldn't you provide them with more content if you have things to say?
I am still baffled that people are interested in what I have to say.
Join the club. I threw fucking rocks in a field.
Yeah.
And some reason they measured it. I don't fucking know, man. I mean, I'm very aware of how odd what it is I became best in the world at.
Yeah. Well, dude, I'll let you get back up there. Run out of time.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time on your journey.
I appreciate you as well.
Hit me up and let's see if we can. I don't really like the water, but I'll like hang out with you guys near the water.
We'll be on either a boat,
or not a boat.
Yeah, or a dock.
Okay.
I'm probably going to cook a bunch of steaks.
Oh, I'm definitely in. You should text me immediately
if you're into steaks. Since Rob doesn't eat meat and Dana doesn't either.
Yeah,
a handful of other guys I have to feed, but
I'll just eat steaks around them.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, killer man, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
man.
my pleasure.